Honorable members, shall we pray? Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and thy good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the wills of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the effort of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honourable members, let me invite you to item number 4. Item number 4, order paper. Item number 4 on today's order paper. That is correction of votes and proceedings and official report. Shall we begin with correction of votes and proceedings? Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5, page 6, page number 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page, very well, Honourable Member for Kwadaso.
Honourable Speaker, on page 10, item 8, the Honourable Member for Saula Tunakaba. And if you look at the third line, the Saula is SAW. So I don't know whether the U or the W, which one is correct. Thank you.
Which item?
Item 8, page 10, Saula Tuna Kalba. The first one is SAU. The second one on line 3 is SAW.
Very well. Thank you very much. Table, kindly take note of it. We move to page 11. Page 12. number 13. Page number 14. Yes, Honorable Member for Kwadaso.
Our page number 14, item 7, clause 3, line 3. The context otherwise requires. So it should be REQ, not REA. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Table, take note. Now, Honorable Member for Kwadaso is overtaking Honorable Member for Northton. We move to page 13. Honorable Member, are you up on your feet? Very well. Page 14. Page number 15. Page 16. Page 17. Page 18. Page number 21. Page 22. Three. Page 24. And finally, page 25. Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the votes and proceedings of the 20th sitting held yesterday, the Wednesday, 29th June 2022, are adopted as the true records of proceedings. Honorable members, we have the 2nd June edition of the official report. 2nd June official report. Honorable members, I repeat, we have the 2nd June official report. And I repeat, official report of 2nd June 2022. Honorable members, in the absence of any corrections, the official report of 2nd June 2022. Well, sorry, Honorable Member for Kwadaso.
Because I didn't hear you say if there are any issues. So, on column 10, third paragraph, the second line. What happened?
Will you come again, Honorable?
I'm saying column 105 on the third paragraph, the second line. What happened? It was very sad. I suspect it should be it was very sad or it was very sad. So we need to take out one of the was very. So it becomes, it was very sad, or else that line wouldn't make sense. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Table, kindly take note. Yes, another member for Northtown.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The Speaker, at column 114, the third paragraph, it captures the Western Regional Minister, the Honorable Kwabna Ochida Kumensa, stating that his own MC for Takrade, he says, if I can quote verbatim, this is because we have seen some of those. My own friend died during the COVID-19 period because we did not get some of the facilities to take care of them in the Western region. My own chief executive, Dr. KK Sapon, had to be transferred all the way from Takrade to Accra. This is because we do not have the capacity to be able to take care of them in these instances. It's not clear if he's talking about the chief executive of GMPC, Dr. KK Sapon, or the chief executive of Takrade. So if that paragraph could be clarified, because when he says his own chief executive, I assume that he's talking about the Takrade MC and not the GMPC CEO. So they should just listen again and clarify that for the record. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. So, honorable members on the table, please kindly take note of it. Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the official report of the 2nd June 2022 is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. Hold on. Yes, honorable member, let's hear you.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I observed that pages 160, 161, and 162 are omitted. I have a blank 160, and then I do not have a 1 and then a 161. I'm sure it should cover the report of the selection committee on the various committee amendments that were effected. So, do you have 162? Check the previous pages. 162. So, yeah. Well, so, Mr. Speaker, I've been handed another one with the pages. So we just may have to check if the omitted pages can be corrected for all the others. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. So, honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, yes, honorable member for Denta.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I remember this day clearly, Honorable Muntaka had corrected the spelling of my name on page 168 of the official report. Business committee, the name here had been captured as Honorable Adama Ramadan, and I remember very well. Honorable Muntaka had corrected it, and if you go to page column 142, it clearly says, Mr. Speaker, lastly, There's this correction on the business committee. The item number 20, Honorable Adamu Ramadan, is spelled ADAMA. So if that could be corrected, but it appears that correction has not taken effect. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honourable Member for Northtown, let me come to you once again.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just to confirm that that day we effected a number of corrections. I noticed that they do not reflect. Even at column 179, item number 19, we corrected the Honorable Zaneto Ajiman Rawlings. It should be Zaneto, not Zinato. And then Ajiman is omitted. Ajiman Rawlings is a compound surname. And quite a number of other corrections we effected that day. So if the table office could kindly look at it and present the corrected version. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. So table, please kindly effect that has been raised today and earlier. Yes. So, honorable members, I'll take it again in the absence of any further corrections. The official report of Thursday, the 2nd June 2022 is hereby adopted as the true record of proceedings. Honourable members, let me invite you to item number 5. Item number 5. Urgent question. Urgent question. May I respectfully invite the Honourable Minister for Health to take his rightful seat, and also invite Honourable Member for Kita, Honourable Kwame Gijozi Gape, to ask question. Yes, Honourable Member, please go to your seat so that you will be recorded as such. Yes, Honourable Member, let's hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Health measures taken by the Food and Drugs Authority to address the falling standard of palm oil on our local market.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, to ensure the safety and quality of food in trade, one of the regulatory measures employed by the Food and Drugs Authority is sampling and testing of products in trade. With the issue of adulteration of palm oil with Sudan dyes coming to fore, the FDA in 2015, through its monitoring activities, found the level of adulteration to be 98%. Mr. Speaker, due to key regulatory interventions implemented by the authority, the level of adulteration has generally decreased from the 98% in 2015 to 23% in 2021. An increase of 7% in 2018 to 26% in 2020 was observed. However, this dropped to 23% in 2021. Mr. Speaker, some of the key regulatory interventions included the following: intensified monitoring of product safety in transit and trade, including annual nationwide sampling and testing of products; detention, seizure, and mandatory disposal of adulterated palm oils; public education at the palm oil production sites, markets, and sensitization of consumers; sanctioning, prosecuting, and blacklisting of corporates. Mr. Speaker, other initiatives taken by the FDA include the following: training. In collaboration with Solidaridad, West Africa, 4,472 stakeholders, millers, fabricators, mill owners along the oil palm value chain in 4 major palm oil producing regions, Western, Eastern, Central, and Ashanti, have been trained in food safety, good manufacturing, and hygiene practices from August to December 2022. This was to improve food handling practices and safety of finished products. Mr. Speaker, in collaboration with the Artisanal Palm Oil Millers and Outgrowers Association, 992, oil palm processors and mill owners were sensitized on food safety, adulteration, traceability, and good hygiene practices, amongst others, from 23rd May to 3rd June 2022 to improve compliance. Traceability system. Development of a traceability concept to facilitate indentation of sources of adulteration along the palm oil supply chain has been initiated. Piloting of the concept has commenced at the Dome and Malamata markets. FDA's progressive licensing scheme. Mr. Speaker, enrollment of the oil palm milling facilities into the FDA's progressive licensing scheme at the various FDA regional offices has commenced. Public education programs. More creative and innovative means of awareness creation, electronic and print, are being developed to deepen awareness of the dangers of Sudan dye in palm oil. Public education and community engagement in collaboration with NCCE is ongoing between April to July 2022 in various metropolis of the Greater Accra region. Awareness creation at the markets, schools, lorry stations, churches, mosques, and other public places, and engagement in the electronic media, that is radio, television, and social media, to address this poor practice and the negative impact on consumer health is ongoing. Upcoming programs. Mr. Speaker, the following activities have been tabled for implementation as a follow-up to the sensitization programs on oil palm adulteration and traceability. Engagement with market queens and aggregators to enroll them into the traceability system. Continuous monitoring of palm oil supply chain actors for compliance to food safety and traceability record keeping. Collaboration with the Artisanal Palm Oil Millers and Outgrowers Association to initiate all its members into the progressive licensing scheme. Liaising with environmental health departments of the various MMDAs at the regional and district levels to put in place a continuous monitoring system for oil palm processing facilities to ensure practices are consistent with GMP requirements. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Yes, Honorable Member for Kita, any further question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And then I want to use the opportunity to thank the Minister for the answers to the question. I would like to find out from the Minister, is there any policy implementation underway with regards to certification and standardization of palm oil in Ghanaian markets? Is there any policy direction towards that with regards to FDA?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Ministry collaboration with the Food and Drugs Authority, have actually developed a general food safety policy that has been approved by Cabinet and launched about 3 weeks ago. We are just about commencing implementation of that policy, and that will include the issues that my colleague is talking about. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable, let's hear you for your last supplementary question.
Mr. Speaker, I have 2 more supplementary to ask.
You don't determine, you have 2 more.
Mr. Speaker,
your last supplementary question, honorable member.
Mr. Speaker, this is food safety issue we are talking about, and it have health consequences.
Honorable member, just listen to me. You say after the main question, you have 2 supplementary questions. You've already asked one. Ask the second one.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to find out from the minister. You know, FDA have national office and regional office. They have no offices in the district. I would like to find out from the minister, is there any plans to have offices, FDA offices around the country, especially in the district, for ease of evaluation and then market surveillance with regards to food safety in the country?
Yes, honorable minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are plans for offices to be opened in the districts, but because of resources, these are plans for medium and long term. In the meantime, the regional offices of FDA actually do market surveillance in the districts for the regions where they are situated. So we continuously do market surveillance across the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, honorable member for Denta.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to find out from the minister, given the mandate and sensitive nature of what FDA does, wouldn't it be appropriate, as currently they are capped at 70%, would the minister consider removing the cap so that FDA would retain everything to enable it to be more efficient and effective in what it does? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honorable minister.
Mr. Speaker, I couldn't get my colleague very clearly. I want him to go over his question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Minister, what I was saying is that FDA are currently capped at 70%. Given the sensitive nature of their mandate and what they do, wouldn't it be appropriate that we ask them to retain 100% of their IGF to ensure that they can do more than what they are doing currently? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well. Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, where I stand, I will say that should be the situation. But circumstances beyond control will not enable me to direct that to be done. I want to rely on Parliament to support my quest for that stop of capping to be stopped. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let me come to Techima North.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I rise to ask the Minister for Health when FDA is coming to the new regions, especially Bono East. Thank you.
I didn't get the question.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, I inquired when FDA is coming to the new regions that have been created, especially Bono East, because FDA doesn't have an office in Bono East, even though it's a region now.
Unfortunately, the question. Anyway, Minister, are you minded to respond to the question?
Mr. Speaker, this is not a simple question, as some of my colleagues feel. Already there is presence of FDA in the Bono East region. Before the creation of the region, we had in the entire Bro and Hafo region located in Sunyani. After the creation, work in terms of surveillance of markets and what FDA does in the 3 regions have not ceased. We will make efforts to see how best we can create an FDA office in the region, just like we are trying to create offices for other ministries and departments in the new regions. But resources wouldn't make us move very quickly to do that for all the regions that we have created. So probably after the regional hospitals and the regional house of chiefs and the regional coordinating offices and some other offices, we will look at how best we can get FDA to situate in Bono East region. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leader, hold on. Let me give the opportunity to the gentleman at the back.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm Honorable Joseph Kuma Kentamponov. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the Minister, from his answer, FDA has no resources to be everywhere as we would like to be. But then, because of their importance, which organization undertakes sensitization or education about FDA activities in the various constituencies or districts? Thank you. Is it the ministry or FDA itself? That's one.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think I've just mentioned that FDA was working to cover the entire regions before creation of new regions. The office in Sunyani is actually catering for places like Intampo, places like Techima North and South, places like Nkranza, and all the other places in the Bono East region. So our offices in Sunyani are doing all that. What we are doing is we go around the entire 3 regions that used to be the old Bono Ahafo region. So we are doing the best that we can. But I never said that we never create offices there. We don't have resources to do that. I said we don't have resources now. But going forward, it is in our plans to try to extend our offices to all places. But meanwhile, there is some good presence in the areas where we don't even have offices there in terms of sensitization, advocacy, and market service. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, keep this out.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Minister, the questions by Honourable Gakwe are very dear to my heart because, Mr. Speaker, apart from the palm oil that seems to be contaminated or seems to be undergoing some new kind of process that scares people who love to cook like me, there's also the issue that perhaps FDA needs to pay particular attention to, reference even our fruits and vegetables. As a child, we could buy tomatoes and it would stay for 3 days. Now, the following day, even in a fridge, they start going bad. The FDA, you keep saying that they don't have resource, but our lives are at stake. Will you consider bringing them to Parliament so we understand them clearly and see how we can help them do their work better? Honestly, it's scary. It's really, really scary these days. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I've taken note of my colleague's advice, but I just want to inform that we have just launched a revised food safety policy, developed in collaboration with the Ministry, FDA, and Ministry of Local Government. In the policy, we have activities that we are going to implement, and some part of it are even shaded off to the assemblies, where they will enact bylaws to do certain things in their areas of jurisdiction, to monitor the safety of our vegetables and some agricultural products from our farms. So we will soon see activities in the field, in the areas that you are talking about for monitoring. We are very particular about food safety now, especially with the use of weedicides and fertilizers and what have you. So we are working on it. Apart from that, we did the antimicrobial resistant policy to try to look at the situation where food antimicrobial residues in some types of meat we eat like chicken and things like that, wouldn't be brought onto the market. We have researched, and we have University of Ghana Health Policy, College of Public Health, going around some areas where we produce these things and monitoring and searching to make sure that they are conforming to the standards that we have set for ourselves. So we are, on course, trying to make sure that food safety is actually guaranteed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now the final question, Honorable Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Minister for Health, in answering the question on when new regions will be having offices of the Food and Drugs Authority, he tried to explain that because of scarcity of resources, that is why we don't have it now. I want to find out from the Minister, now that the e-levy has been passed, because we are made to understand that the e-levy will solve all the problems.
Leader, respectfully, you are deviating just to... So, Honorable Leader, we take the stake. Leader, I've shot him down.
Mr. Speaker, but Hansard has captured him saying that we were told e-levy. So at least that will be expunged. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, yesterday it was his rule that such matters must be expunged from the record. E-levy was never mentioned as going to be used for a thing like this. So, Mr. Speaker, let Hansard expunge it from the record.
Leader, that is why I didn't allow the question.
Okay.
So please,
right.
let's take it there. Honourable members, let's turn to question 174. Question 174. Question 174. And the question stands in the name of a member for Bongo. Honourable Edward Abambile Power.
Abambile.
Abambile Power.
Say it again. Abambile.
Again. Honourable Edward Abambile Power. Honourable Abambile, let's hear you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to ask the Minister for Health how the services of contractors were procured to produce personal protective equipment, PPEs, face masks, medical scrubs, hospital gowns, and headgears in the fight against COVID-19. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm just trying to read from the other paper. Page 29. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Health requested for quotations from registered suppliers based on their areas of business. We then wrote to the Public Procurement Authority in accordance with Section 40 of Act 663 as amended to request for approval to use single source procedure to procure the various PPEs because of the emergency situation. Mr. Speaker, in situations where the threshold involved was above that of the Ministry's ETC, the Ministry then sought and received approval from the Central Tender Review Committee depending on the contract amount in accordance with the provisions of the Public Procurement Act 2003, Act 683 as amended. Mr. Speaker, with regard to the locally produced PPEs, the Minister of Trade and Industry pre-qualified local manufacturing companies in the garment industry and submitted the names of the firms to the Ministry of Health for their engagement. The MOH then sought and received approval from the PPA in accordance with Section 40 of Act 683 as amended to engage the local manufacturing firms to produce PPEs, face masks, medical scrubs, hospital gowns, and headgears in the fight against COVID-19. This was to help the local capacity to to respond to future pandemics. Mr. Speaker, contracts were awarded to local manufacturers upon receipt of all the necessary approvals. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Abambili, any supplementary question?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, can the minister tell me the names of the companies that were awarded this contract and whether they were registered with PPA as per the law? The names of the companies that won the contract and whether they were registered with the PPA as per the law.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
So now, how will we consider the finding?
Mr. Speaker, this will be a very difficult question for me to answer now because we dealt with several large numbers of companies to supply these PPEs in large volumes. As to whether they were registered with the PPA or not, so far as we got approvals from PPA, I would like to assume that they were approved and registered by the PPA. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Your last supplementary question.
Mr. Speaker, I think that before I ask my last question, it is important that he makes this information available to us because of the transparency nature of it. Because just to say that there were large numbers that they gave about this, and therefore he doesn't know, and whether they were registered, as per the law. These are things, because he's quoting the law as basis for which they are awarded. So if you are quoting the law, it means that you would have satisfied all the, the provisions. So this is a directive I want to, before I move to the second question, or else we'll be evading questions that are being given by members of parliament to ministers to answer. So I just want to put that on record.
Well.
Before I ask my question.
Well. You ask your second question.
You recall, sir.
Mr. Speaker, there's a known as the Community Development Alliance. They conducted a risk assessment of our COVID procurement titled Strengthening COVID-19 Accountability Mechanisms, SCAM, Corruption Risk Assessment. In that particular report, it is stated, Mr. Speaker, with your permission, it said that the contract was awarded to 4 Ghanaian garment manufacturing companies who had been given loans of $10 million through the Ghana Exim Bank to produce PPEs, face masks, medical straps, hospital gowns, and headgears without tender, and that the companies were not registered with the PPA as per the law. Can he reconcile this report, the findings of this report, and what he has just told us this morning?
Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the information that is put in here have not been validated by any institution, by my office or by PPA. I will need to do some checks to try to find out the validity of the assertion allegations that is even coming out. This was prepared by an NGO, Mr. Speaker. That was not consulted by me or anybody. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well.
Before you, no, I know that I don't have it. You see, I know that I don't have the right to another supplementary question. But you see, just 2 days ago, we were here talking about the RTI. When we have situations where ministers just come to just give us answers just because they want to give us something to show that they have appeared before us, it undermines our role as an institution that's to pretend over the executive. I think that there should be some directive from your side.
Honourable Member,
to give us those answers.
You, before this question, you requested that certain information he has more or less promised to provide the House. I should make sure he provides. So we will deal with it. But meanwhile, I want to stress on this. You don't bring a minister here to provide certain information you have originally not asked him to come and produce.
Mr. Speaker, this one I ask because I asked how do we procure this? How those
Honourable Member, you were quoting from certain information that you have on your lap. And probably he said he doesn't have that information. So you go back and check. And I think for me is the right answer. Because it will be better for him to come back and give us the right information than to guess. Right? I'll come to you. Let him. Okay. So,
Mr. Speaker, we are in this chamber and we know that there's a House of Records. Honorable Bauer will not take kindly to any submission on this floor which may impugn improper motive against his image and name, reputation, and for that matter, his constituency. My point here is for you to submit that ministers of state come here merely to give answers.
Do something.
Just give something for the sake of it. Mr. Speaker, with the greatest respect, it's unacceptable. He cannot say that. Mr. Speaker, if an answer given to a question is not satisfactory to you, it is for you as a member of parliament to use other tools available to further explore and get what you want for your constituents. But you cannot use that to attack. You know, you are supposed to listen quietly. This virtue I want you to have.
Honorable member, let's allow him to finish. When he finishes, you will be given the opportunity to.
You have not been called. I'm on my feet.
Honorable leader, address me. Honorable member,
Mr. Speaker, I won't be surprised if people capture what you are doing. I won't be surprised if the cameras capture what you just did. What I am saying is that if you, Ama Kofibwa, you have any disagreement, catch the eye of the speaker. So don't do what you are doing. It's never done. Mr. Speaker, back to the main issue. My point is that if a member disagrees with an answer, it is for him to explore other means of getting what he wants. But you cannot bring the minister here. Once minister is answering a question, then you impugn improper motives. Try to attack him. Mr. Speaker, it happened yesterday, it is happening today, and it is time we told them that it is unacceptable.
Very well.
Mr. Speaker, rest my case.
Very well. Yes. Leader, let me hear you. Please, no, we don't have any right of reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my colleague, the Deputy Majority Leader, says that if anyone disagreement with his submission, the member should catch the eye of Mr. Speaker. That is a rule. We all agree. The same way, the rule doesn't permit a member to speak to the other member directly, like he's been doing. He will go directly and point to a member without speaking to the speaker. That is his style. So you should also take note that is also against the rules of the House. If you do that, the member will definitely react. The member will react. So, colleague, take note. Don't speak directly to the members. You provoke them and they want to react. Speaker, if you read the question of the member very well, and permit me to read, it says that to ask the Minister for help how the services of contractors were procured to produce personal protective equipment. How? Now, the Minister brought the answer to say that it was done through sole sourcing. And we all know the rules under which sole sourcing could be done. And so if a follow-up question is that, what are the names or what are the companies that you procure from through sole sourcing? I think that it is appropriate for the minister to arm himself with those information. Because definitely the answer he provides, a follow-up question will flow from it. So we should not have a system where a minister comes to answer questions and says that I don't have that information. Be prepared all the time with knowing very well that a follow-up question will come from members who are asking the question, because this question he asked as a follow-up is flowing from the answer he provided. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, please, be on your feet. Please be on your seat. What the second supplementary question, he read from his phone, citing certain companies, and the minister says he has to check. And for me, I think that one is right. The previous one, the minister himself said he will supply the information to the House. I will direct that he bring that information to the House. But if you are quoting from your phone that so and so company and so and so and so, and the minister said he's not fully aware, we have to check. Obviously, we have to allow that. So, on that note, Minister, the first one you said you will provide information to the House. Please do well, and let's have it by next week, that information. Is it a supplementary question? Are you asking a question or?
I'm speaking your guidance on something very important. Your guidance determines how we even run this House, and that's why it is imperative.
Let's hear you.
I want to know whether ministers can appear before this House, and when questions are put to them, they tell us that I don't have the answer readily. As and when I get it, I bring it. And I'm asking this question because just about 3-4 months ago, I asked a question to a minister. The minister gave the same response as we see today. I haven't had the answer. That answer borders on certain issues in my constituency. Don't you think it will be imperative, Right Honourable Speaker, for you to ask him when he will provide that information, because the information is critical. But if it is get response, okay, I'll get the answer, I'll provide the answer as and when I get it, and it is in perpetuity, I really don't think that it argues well for this House and for our responsibility as people who play the oversight. So he needs to tell us when he's providing that answer.
Very well. Honourable Member, I've already directed that that information he intends to supply this House should be supplied to the House by next week. I've given that directive. Next week, by a close of next week. Very well. But I want to stress on this. Let's give this, or just allow the ministers to give information that are available. If we force them to give information which is based on a guesswork, I don't think it will be in a good position for this particular House. Because the House is a House of records, and the minister will come, he's not prepared to give certain answer, but based on the kind of pressure, he will guess and give us certain information which may turn out to be something else. So please, if the minister says he's not, especially when it comes to a question, supplementary questions, if the minister says he's not prepared for that particular answer, let's allow him and probably direct him to bring that information as I've directed him to do that. So on that note, you finish with your 2 supplementary questions, please. No, you don't need to. Honorable, please. That one is over. Let's move on. Honorable Minister, on behalf of the House, I'd like to thank you for attending upon the House to respond to questions from members. You are hereby discharged. Yes, let me invite the Minister for Transport. Yes, we begin from question 543. Question 543. And the question stands in the name of a member for Tema East, Honorable Isaac Ashai Odampton. Very well. Let's hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to ask the Minister for Transport the operational effectiveness of sailors and crew recruitment, their safety and general welfare, having regards to the Ghana Maritime Authority Act and international best practice. Thank you.
Very well. Honorable Minister, you are welcome to the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Maritime Authority, in pursuance of its statutory objectives, have domesticated several international maritime instruments to ensure that training, recruitment, and welfare of Ghanaian seafarers is in line with international best practices. Mr. Speaker, the GMA constantly ensures that Ghana continues to stay on the International Maritime Organization list of countries that have given complete and full effect to the International Maritime Convention on the standard of training, certification, and watchkeeping for seafarers. Mr. Speaker, this convention set out the required to work on board any ship. Mr. Speaker, the latest approval by the Maritime Safety Committee of International Maritime Organization was in May 2021. This means that seafarers holding certificate issued by the Ghanaian administration meets international standards. Mr. Speaker, it will interest you to know that the Memorandum of Understanding has been signed with over 35 major ship-owning companies across the world, that is per Regulation 110 of International Convention on Standard of Training, Certification and Watchkeeping. By this MOU, Ghanaian seafarers can be employed on any of these ships. Mr. Speaker, the welfare of seafarers is very crucial in the shipping industry, as it is closely related to safety of navigation and property. The Maritime Labour Law Convention 2006 MLC 2006, which establishes seafarer welfare, including minimum working and living standards, is implemented domestically through Ghana Shipping Maritime Labour Regulation 15, that is LI 2226. Under this regulation, Mr. Speaker, a number of companies have been licensed as seafarer recruitment and placement agencies. Their licenses are renewed annually upon an audit to verify if any of the provisions in the regulation is being adhered to. It must be noted that, Mr. Speaker, not all seafarers are employed through this medium. Mr. Speaker, in summary, the Ghana Maritime Authority, by its statutes, ensures that training, recruitment, and welfare of seafarers are done in conformity with national and international standards. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Member for Tema East, any further question?
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Member, don't allocate to yourself 3 supplementary questions. Today, if you are watching, I'm giving 2 supplementary questions. So you don't have the right to allocate to yourself 3 supplementary questions. It's 2.
Very well, Mr. Speaker. But following from the Minister's response, paragraphs 2 and 4, my follow-ups will be on the welfare, which is paragraph 2, safety, which is paragraph 2, and welfare, paragraph 4. Mr. Speaker, how is the Minister and the Ministry ensuring safety of sailors under the Industrial Fishing and Trawling crews, because the answer he has provided appears to fly for cargo vessels, but the safety of crews in industrial fishing and trawling crews is what I want to date on. Thank you.
Very well. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Per the regulation which the member is very much averse to, we have inspectors or what we call surveyors at our port. And when the port docks, before it take off, we go into it. And because IMO has come out with standards which we have domesticated, we take to make sure that all those safety measures are in place. If any ship docks and we find out that none, they are flouting some of the rules, Mr. Speaker, they are found. And we have to pay a penalty for it. So we make sure that the ship, before they take off or before they sail off, meet those international standards, which per IMO regulation we are supposed to enforce. So we are doing that. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Yes, honorable member, your last question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, the minister highlights the safety of navigation and properties. What is conspicuously missing in the answer is the welfare of personnel. As he would recall, over 2 years ago, an observer who is the Fisheries Commission staff, supposed to observe activities at sea, died. And up to now, nothing has been done, which goes to the core of the issue of safety and welfare of crew members. What is the minister doing in terms of remuneration, medical, retirement, industrial relations, and accidents of crew or sailors in the sector? Thank you.
Yes, honorable minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is not my doing. There are standards set in the IMO regulation, and those standards must be met. We ensure that those things are met. That is why we sign an agreement with various ships to make sure that in terms of salaries or remuneration, welfare, all these things are met. But he alluded that somebody died. I don't know whether the person that, as a result of the job that he was doing, or he did not allude whether the person was sick and he was not taken care of. I may not know the cause of the death. As for that, they are inevitable, they are bound to happen. But the cause of the death has not been alluded to me. So I will not be able to speak that. But what I can tell you is that we make sure that the minimum standard, which they are supposed to pay the seafarers, are met, Mr. Speaker, and we are enforcing those. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes. Honorable member, are you a coastal? Okay. Let's hear you.
Mr. Speaker, thanks for the opportunity. I am internal auditor for shipping companies under MOU regulation, ISM, that is International Shipping Management, ISPS, International Ship and Port Security, and International Maritime Labour Convention 2006 or 2010. I often visit the fishing harbour, and what I observe, all these that I've mentioned are not being followed by the ship owners. These fishing vessels we have in the port are all mostly owned by the foreign companies, and they do not comply with these regulations. So I would like to find out from the minister, or suggest to him that as he's insisting, the standard wages for the crew on board the fishing vessels are never met, as well as the safety regulations. Thank you.
Yes, honorable minister.
Mr. Speaker, we have employed people who are qualified to work, and my expectation is that they make sure that the standards are met. He is bringing it to my attention today that those things are not being met or they are not being done. Mr. Speaker, assure him that I will follow up and make sure that the complaint that he's making, that the right thing is done. Thank you.
Honorable Member, you were the owner of the question. Afterwards, you've been given the opportunity to ask supplementary questions. What else again? Yes, Honorable Leader.
Mr. Speaker,
you say you are a Costa MP.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I want to first associate myself with the question asked by the Honorable Isaac Ashai Odampton, Member of Parliament for Tema East. Mr. Speaker, I say so because as a practitioner, I have had a number of cases where
practitioner in what?
Oh, Mr. Speaker, we are in the same profession, sir.
What profession? Are you a speaker?
Mr. Speaker,
Are you a speaker?
Mr. Speaker, it's a notorious fact that I'm a barrister at law and a courtroom practitioner for that matter. Very well. Mr. Speaker, as a practitioner, I encountered a number of cases where Ghanaian crew were mistreated. In fact, Mr. Speaker, 95% of the cases, there were no contracts. I remember I petitioned Honorable Sherry Ayiti, right? Sherry Ayiti, those days. And Mr. Speaker, if you look at the contract they crew, they make sure that all areas are covered. They pay their insurance, they pay them properly into the account. When it comes to our Ghanaian sailors, they do on the table payment, no insurance, no snitch, no tax, nothing. Mr. Speaker, a lot of these boys have deformities. Some of them, Mr. Speaker, ice blocks have hurt them in one way or the other. They are in mental homes. Mr. Speaker, when they recount their experience, you feel sorry for them. So I am happy about the approach taken by the ministry. What I would want to emphasize is...
Leader, it's the question time. Are you asking question
Mr. Speaker, I'm enjoying the... Mr. Speaker, I am supporting my colleague. Mr. Speaker, I thought when it gets to national issues like this, Mr. Speaker, I'm being heckled by my own colleague opposite, Honorable Deputy Minority Leader.
He hasn't heard you. He just wants you to ask the question.
Mr. Speaker, he's talking but not into the mic. He's speaking across the aisle. That is not the practice. Mr. Speaker, so all I am trying to put across is that, Mr. Speaker, all I want to put across simply is that the ministry should empower the authority to really protect Ghanaians. And from what the minister has just told us, what assurances can he give by way of practical steps to achieve this within the shortest possible time? Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister, we want assurance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is our responsibility to protect our people. And whatever it is that we need to do within the ambit of the law to protect them, we will do it. And we are not going to relax. We will make sure that. But the unfortunate thing is that not all seafarers are employed according to some of these arrangements that we have done. Some of them find their own work outside the company that we have signed this memorandum of understanding with them to make sure that they go strictly according to IMO's regulation. But you will make sure that you bring all of them under the bodies and organizations that they have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now turn to question 549. Question 549. The question stands in the name of a member for Pru East. Pru East, Honorable Dr. Kwabena Donko. Senior member, may we hear you?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Transport the policy trajectory on the development of inland water transport. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the inland water transport system has been identified as a cost-effective option for the transportation of bulk cargoes and passengers. Government therefore seeks to promote safe, efficient inland waterways transport system with particular focus now on the water lake. Mr. Speaker, the key focus areas are as follows. One, to develop the lake, development and rehabilitation of necessary infrastructures, including landing sites and reception facilities, charting of the lake to improve safety of navigation, provision of navigational aids, retooling of the Water Lake Transport Company Limited, capacity building of informal boat operators to ensure safe boat operation. Mr. Speaker, already we have presented a request to this August House to approve a facility that will support the revitalization of the Water Lake Transport System. It is my hope that the request will receive the support of this House. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member for any supplementary question.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you. My first supplementary question is, will the minister consider, since he mentioned the Water Lake Transport Company, will the minister consider making the appropriate policy approach to Cabinet to make the Water Lake Transport Company an autonomous company fully owned and funded by the Ghanaian state, as against its present status of being a subsidiary of the Water Lake Transport, Water River Authority? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I thank the Honorable Member for this. Mr. Speaker, this is one area that we are trying to see how we can adjust the system. Because if you look at it, the Water Lake, apart from the transport that we are operating on, is a national asset. And the VRA, which is in charge of Ministry of Energy, who are in charge of the lake and the national security, think that there must be some collaboration between the original owners, that is the VRA and the Ministry of Energy and Ministry of Transport, to see how we can then realign some of these operations. But it's something that we are talking about. I've had a number of discussions with the Minister for Energy, and we are trying to present the paper to Cabinet. But I think that is something that we have considered and we are looking at it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable, your last supplementary question. Honorable Senior Member, yesterday, today, this week, we've been restricting ourselves to two. Already you spent more than 1 hour.
I take the cue from you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Speaker, I will want to ask the Minister whether there are any concrete plans to remove the rocks, the projectiles at debris on the Water Lake, which make the movement of barges almost impossible during the latter part of the year. And in considering this, will the minister also consider making would the minister also consider making a case to promote the use of inland waterways by deliberately moving cargo off the roads onto the lake, since water transport everywhere in the world is deemed to be the cheapest mode of transportation? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member, is it because I say you have the last slot? That's why we are combining so many questions. Anyway, Minister, let's hear you.
Mr. Speaker, I have no option to answer the question because he's my uncle. If I don't answer the question, I will have a problem. Mr. Speaker, the issue of debris rocks is a major problem so far as the lake operation is concerned because of north-south operation. So it's an issue that we are looking at. Unfortunately for us, under the Exim Bank facility that we are trying to acquire or we are acquiring, that one deals only with the cross-ferry services. So we are also talking to other partners to see, because we must have a whole year operation so far as badges are concerned. Unfortunately, when we have lean season because of the rock, we are not able to cross over to Yape and Bope. So it's a major concern for, like you said, it's the cheapest means of moving cargo from north to south or south to north. So, we are talking to partners, and I'm one person that if you haven't read any concrete decision or quantity, we cannot just talk about it, but it's something that we are considering. If we remove it, it will serve us better, and it's something that we need to consider. So we are talking about, we are looking at it, and it's something that maybe getting at the end of the year, I'm sure I'll have a positive response to. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes. Hold on. Let me come to Wisdom first. Yes, Wisdom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister indicated his answer that they have presented a request to Parliament to approve a facility about all these good initiatives that he has mentioned. Has he done a follow-up to see where it has gotten to, timeline to where these things will be approved for? Because this is a very important thing that we all yearning for. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to tell the Honorable Member that the Minister of Finance has brought a loan agreement to this house. And in fact, this morning, the Finance Committee met on the issue. We had a deliberation, and I'm hoping that we will present a favorable response to this house so that the loan may be approved. And when it's approved, we will then assess it and move ahead to do the actual construction and other facilities that the loan is requiring it to do. Thank you very much.
Very well. Let me take the last question. Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Talking about the water lake transport as been mentioned by the Minister, I want to find out from the Minister what measures is the Ministry doing to improve the badges system. The badges there were built in 1989 when I was doing my national service there with the Germans. And today, I found out that most of those badges are leaking. One badge can take a load of 17 containers, which I want to find out from the Minister, what measures are they doing to improve or repair those badges at the moment?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have a system we call rehabilitation system. We are repairing some of the badges, like you rightly said. And also, under the Exim Bank facility that we are also going to acquire new badges, which will help. We have also hired a consultant to look into the rampant breakages or the breakdown of these badges. And the consultant will present the report to us so that going forward, we will know how to maintain some of these badges. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member for Tamale Central, I'm coming to you. You cannot ask questions from the leadership table. Please go back to your seat and ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thought you would have allowed me to enjoy this small temporal post.
No. You want to graduate into the leadership. No. You have to take your time. Let's hear you. Question 554.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Transport whether proper procurement laws were followed in the award of the contract between Government of Ghana and Frontier Health Services, as well as the contract between Frontier Health Services and the First Atlantic Bank for the purposes of collecting the charges for the COVID-19 test at the airport?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Ghana Airport Company Limited strictly followed its established procedures in awarding concessions to our clients. The company sought and secured approval from the Public Procurement Authority before the award of the space to Frontiers Health Services Group was done. Mr. Speaker, Ghana Airport Company Limited is not privy to the contract between Frontier Health Services and the First Atlantic Bank for the purpose of collecting charges for COVID-19 tests at the airport. Concessionaires at the airport are free, Mr. Speaker, to
which banks they operate with. But that particular bank is operating at the airport. It isn't that they operate in their branches anywhere. And that is why it should be of tremendous concern to you as the Minister for State. That bank do work at the airport. And I premise my question on the basis of the fact that the airport is a security installation. So if you tell me that because the airport company is not interested in who private entities you do business with engages with, for me, that is just completely unacceptable. The reason why that question is important is that the bank operates at the airport. So my question was not answered. If you have
Honorable Member,
explanation, it's understandable.
May you ask your question? All what you are saying is not a question. It's a commentary. Just ask a question.
Mr. Speaker, I asked a question, the question was not answered. And the response he gave, my view is that...
Are you sure the question was not answered?
It wasn't answered.
Say that it wasn't answered in your satisfactory.
Was it your satisfaction, right, Honorable Speaker?
Well, that's giving us.
I can see that you are not satisfied with the answer he gave.
Well, that's not your... So, ask your second question.
Speaker, with your guidance, could the minister furnish this house with the contractual agreement between government of Ghana through the airport company and the Frontier Health? And I ask this question because when the Minister for Health appeared before the appointment committee, he stated palpably that that company operated at the airport initially without a license. So could you furnish this house, the contractual agreement between government of Ghana or the Ghana Airport Company and the Frontier Health?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Ghana Airport Company is not a licensing agency for any health institution. What we do is to grant space for people who want to do business at the airport. And Ghana Airport Company is in possession of the concessional agreement between Ghana Airport Company and Frontier Health Services. Mr. Speaker, at my vetting, I presented that particular document, and given the opportunity, I will bring it before this House. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
So, do you promise to fetch the House with the agreement? Is that what you are saying?
Mr. Speaker, I will do that because I had presented that document before this House as part of my document for vetting. That document is in this House, but if you request on me, I will also bring it.
Very well. So, on that note, when do you think you can furnish that information? Or...
Mr. Speaker, if you instruct me, I'm before you.
So, can you provide us next week with the information?
Next week, I'll
very well. Let me go to Salaga. Salaga,
sit down. China. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the Minister for Transport whether the Frontiers Health Limited still operates at the Kotoka International Airport, and if so, will he be able to furnish us with the number of positive tests that they have done from January till now? Thank you.
Honorable member, it's obvious that the minister was not brought here to tell the House the number of tests that has been conducted over there. I mean, I don't think it's way deviated from the original question. The first question, fine, but the subsequent one, I don't think is. Please, let's understand the situation, because if the minister was brought here to talk about certain things, and you are now giving a specific information with regards to details of numbers, and I don't think it's right. So, Honorable Minister, if you are minded to answer the first part of the question. So, Salaga, may you repeat the question, the first part?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the Minister for Transport whether Frontiers Health Company are still operating at the Kotoka International Airport. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Honorable Minister, let's hear you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. They are still operating at Kotoka International Airport.
I'll come. You are available, leader. I'll come to you. I'll come to you. Okay, let's hear it.
Mr. Speaker, we all know that this is not the practice in this House, that when a question is asked or is filed and it is not an urgent question, the answer is always provided so that members have access to the answer, so they are able to ask questions relating to the answer that has been provided. Now, that is not what is happening. And so if somebody stands up to ask a question, then you say that the question the person is asking is not relating to the substantive one. Meanwhile, the answer is not here.
Honorable
so
member,
we want to be sure.
Honorable member, I think you are a fan of asking so many questions. Yesterday or last day, you brought a minister for trade and he answered about 3 questions from you. I think when you are filing the question, you have that indication whether the question should be oral or in writing form. So if probably you indicate that the answer should be in the writing form, then I don't think the minister will be obliged to provide the answer.
Mr. Speaker, I have the other paper with me here. And you have agent questions and you also have ordinary questions. The minister has come to answer a question under the ordinary questions. And what I'm saying is that the practice here is you always have the answer in the other paper. It is not there. So when members are asking questions, they are just, based on what they have heard here. But it would have been very important if it is captured in the other paper, they made reference to it, and they are able to ask relevant questions relating to the question that has been asked.
Yes, sir, written and oral.
Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, I think that is a challenge of the system, and we can't attribute it to the minister. The minister supplied his responses. Unfortunately, for some technical reasons, I think 1 or 2 of them could not find expression on the other paper. You can't attribute that to the minister. I'm saying that for a fact. The answers were supplied. So we have a challenge. Let's see how we can deal with it. I wouldn't want to blame the table office because if there's a challenge with publication, you can't really also place it at the doorsteps of the table officers. So let's see how to resolve the problem.
But you have to.
So whilst we are checked, let him come to. Have you asked your question?
No, I've not asked yet. But he said he was going to still talking on the challenge being identified.
Well,
no, we'll come back to it. So let's hear Honorable Pijeto.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to draw attention to Order 68.4 on the matter that we are discussing to situate how important the issue that the honourable member for Bole has raised is. Order 68.4 provides that the answer to any such question shall, whenever practicable, be printed and a copy thereof supplied to the member not less than 15 minutes before the time fixed for the sitting at which the question is to be answered, and such answer shall be read by the member. And such answer shall be read by the member to whom the question is addressed, or by the member acting for the member to whom the question is addressed. So, Mr. Speaker, our standing orders provide that these questions ought to be printed. And so, I do not think that the concern of the honourable member should be dismissed. It's a legitimate concern. Our standing order provides that. The honourable majority leader, I heard him, and if he can hear me too, I heard the honourable majority leader, trying to say that we can't blame the minister, we can't blame the table. So who do we? Somebody must be responsible for making sure that this is printed. So we must know exactly what the challenge is, so that we can address it.
Honourable Member, I understand there is an omission with respect to this particular question. So the table office have noticed that. So please, it wasn't deliberate. Very well.
I think the point that has been made by the honourable member is important. The leader of government business indicated that this is not a problem of the table office, neither is it a problem of the minister. It's obvious that the leader of this house must follow up and address the issue, because he himself has admitted that it's a problem. So, leader, make sure that we can address this issue. Thank you.
Yes, honourable
Thank you very much.
member.
My question to was the contract that involves the Frontier Healthcare Solution Services. Did it go through tender? Was the company registered by PPA? And whether the health facilities regulator licensed the company?
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I had said, and I'm repeating it, our role as Ghana Airport Company was to grant space. We do not license health operators in this country. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member.
Mr. Speaker.
That's the best
No, but Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker.
So
you are granting space.
Honourable member, I think this issue has come. And the deputy leader said, if the answer given by the minister is not satisfactory, you should find a way of soliciting the answers, but not, because that's at the moment, that's the best he can. So adapt another means of soliciting the information from the minister. At the moment, that's the way he thinks he can answer the question. So, Honourable, let him give you the last slot.
Mr. Speaker, I'm just pleading with you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleading with you. You see, when you have a minister of state come to tell you that they've given him a facility to look at, so if I get up from my house and just come to Ghana Ports, the airport, and there are certain conditions I'm supposed to meet, and I don't meet those conditions, and you release space for me to operate, then you are major on your responsibility. Because as a ministry, you should be able to know the person who is coming there to offer that service, whether he meets all the other. So you don't just come to the floor of Parliament and say your duty was just to provide space, and that's what you did. So you cannot answer the other questions. I mean, with all due respect, it's simply just unacceptable.
Honourable member. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, questions in this House are guided by our rules. A member gets up and is arguing his case instead of asking a question. Mr. Speaker, with respect.
Yeah, you should put it outside. You should put it outside. Now you're right.
Mr. Speaker, the honorable member who just got up, really, the issue is raising offends our rules. Order 67(1)(b). You don't start arguing with the minister. Just ask your question. That's how the business in this House is conducted.
Honourable member, let him take the last question. Last question from you.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. I want to find out from the minister if he says Frontiers is not operating at the airport. Is he able to explain what actually Frontiers is doing at the moment? How is their operation? What are they doing?
May you come again, please?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I want to find out from the minister. You said Frontiers is still operating at the airport. What are they doing there? Is the operation different from what they were doing previously, or they are still doing the same thing?
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think government had come out with measures to reduce the COVID inspection, but within it, there are some limited operations that people who are not vaccinated, when they get to our airport, they need to go through the vaccination. I'm sure that is why the company is still there operating, but it's not as massive as they used to do everybody. Thank you.
Last question, please, Honourable. No. Fine, I can give it to the leader, not. Leader, let's hear you.
I just want to find out from the Honourable Minister whether Frontiers is being paid for those limited services they are providing, and how much so far have been paid to them. Thank you.
Yes. When you work, you are paid for, so they charge for them.
Well. So, honourable members, let's turn to question 556. Question 556. And the question stands in the name of a member for Adeku, Honourable Kwame Govins, Abuja.
Right, Honourable Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to ask the Minister for Transport. I've been taken to develop an aviation training school for pilots, engineers, and cabin crew at the completed Ho Airport, as promised in the 2019 budget statement and economic policy of government.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, there may be a mix-up in the question that the Honourable Member asked. But what I have, 556, Mr. Kwame Governor Abuja, to ask the Minister for Transport, what steps the Ministry is taking to construct an airport in Upper East Region and an international airport at Takoradi as promised in 2019 budget. That is the question I have. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes,
Honourable Speaker, I think the Minister is right. That is not a question. The question I asked is what has been printed.
but when I read the answer provided, it sounded like an answer to another question. I'm happy for the minister to take a second look at the question as I've asked it and probably come on another day to give the answer. Thank you.
Well. So, table, please kindly take note of that. So, we move to question 674. 674. Honorable Member for Medina, Francis Xavier Kojososu.
Yes. Mr. Speaker, I have his permission to ask the question with your leave.
Let's hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask on behalf of Francis Sosu what specific measures the ministry is taking to rehabilitate various trotro stations in Medina. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, various trotro stations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the development and rehabilitation of various trotro stations in Medina is under the mandate of La Nkwantana Municipal Assembly. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Last speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member, let's.
Mr. Speaker, I have no further question. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
No further question. And Honorable Minister, I think this question should relate to all the trotro stations in the country. They are all crying for rehabilitations. I'm saying the question relating to Medina should be replicated in the whole country. Most of the trotro stations we have are crying for rehabilitations. So if you can look at it holistically. Yes.
Much as I agree with you that there are many trotro stations that I think from the answer of the minister, the question was wrongly directed to plead with the way to have a look at the questions that are filed by members. So the table officers, once they have a second look at it, they'll be able to advise the speaker so that the questions will be properly directed, and then we'll save ourselves from any embarrassment. But I think it's a legitimate question, except that it was wrongly addressed.
Question 987. 987. Honorable Member for Pungugu Yoyo. Honorable Abednego Azuma Bandin.
Mr. Speaker, I have his permission to ask the question with your leave. I rise to ask the Minister for Transport why the Ghana Meteorological Agency, GMET, still does not receive its share of aviation levy from the Ghana Airports Company Limited. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Airport Tax Act 1963 Act 209, as amended, imposed airport passenger service charge on departing passengers. The receivable from the APSC is historically being the main source of revenue for the management of the airport operations. Under special arrangement, the Ghana Airport Company Limited has been paying some amount to GMAT to cover their services at the airport. Mr. Speaker, following the passage of the Ghana Civil Aviation 2019 Act 985, the Ghana Meteorological Agency Amendment Act 2019 Act 1002, and the Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation and Prevention Bureau Act 2020 Act 1028, 7.5 5% and 1%, 1.5% of the APSC were allocated to these respective agencies. Mr. Speaker, the management of Ghana Airport Company Limited and GMAT have had series of engagement resulting in GACL making payment to the tune of about 5.2 million to GMAT between the period of 2017 to date. Mr. Speaker, the parties are in further discussion for a workable payment plan for the outstanding amount. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the Minister's answer in paragraph 3, he states that 5.2 million of the amount has been paid since 2017. How much is the total money owed GMET by GACL? How much is that amount?
Honourable Member, may you
You were taking coaching from coach. What's the question?
Yes, Honourable St. George, you just came in and you want to announce your presence.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, I was here a long time. You were just watching me. That's why.
Mr. Speaker, my question is, the Minister states that 5.2 million Ghana cedis of the amount owed GMET has been paid from 2017 up to date.
How much is outstanding?
I want to find out how much is outstanding.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this is a very legitimate question. And because this is a house of record, I always want to be careful. And I know they own them and substantial, but I will not be able to particularly state the amount which is left. So I'll plead with the honourable member. It is not difficult for me to find out. But this is a house of record and I need to be careful. Thank you very much.
Very well. Very well. The last question.
Speaker, I'm hoping you give the same directive that you gave to the earlier questions about timeline for that, the submission. But, Mr. Speaker, the Minister states that it is an act that mandates the Ghana Airport Company Limited. He states in his answer that the GMET Act 2019, Act 1002, stipulates that 5% of resources from the amount realized from the APSC should be given to GMET. I want to find out, is the Minister aware that this non-release is jeopardizing the lives of aviation travelers because the money has not been released and it's affecting the operations?
Leader is giving you a cue.
Very well. Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Maybe a non-release to the agency may be a problem, but whether the GMAT is not performing function to jeopardize the users of aviation services, I will be able to say no, because yes, we do recognize that there is some obligation that we need to offer to GMAT, and there's no compromise about it. But the GMAT, they are performing their services creditably. They know that we will make good our promise or our indebtedness to them. So they are working. So thank you.
Let me give to.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In the presentation of the minister, let me commend him for making.
I believe your leader has warned you that there should be no problem.
For making an attempt to dent the huge arrears that Ghana Airports Company Limited owes GMET. Mr. Speaker, on the authority of being the ranking member on the Committee on Communications, we have sat on this matter on a number of occasions, and this has been a very burdensome issue as far as the operations of GMET is concerned. And Mr. Speaker, it's not just about the ordinary operations of GMET. It has to do with lives. It has to do with the ranking and the status of Ghana at the Kotaka International
Honorable ranking. So ask the question.
Mr. Speaker, if you indulge me, Mr. Speaker, you must have heard before you chew corn. I just want to build a premise with your indulgence, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, there is a law, as we all speak, which the minister alluded to. And the law provides a framework of payment, within which period, when those monies are deducted, they are supposed to be paid to the GMET. Mr. Speaker, you agree with me?
So what's the question?
That if a lion is found of patronizing the market, they will treat it like a puppy. If we are persistently violating the law, we will make useless of the law. And I just want to, why not placing the blame squarely at the doors of the minister? But just to ensure that as the one who has oversight, will he not put in place steps to ensure that as soon as these deductions are made, it is timeously paid to GMET so that they can improve upon their operations, so that they can protect. Mr. Speaker, if they don't give a weather report, flights cannot take off. And if they take off with that one, Ghana's status as a first-class international airport will be downgraded. So, Mr. Speaker, I want the minister to give an assurance that from here you will go there and make sure that even though directly he doesn't take part in the day-to-day administration of the district, he will ensure that whoever has that responsibility takes steps to ensure that that is done. And I commend him for the dent that they have made in the arrears. But I'm sure that we need to go further. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you are burying a corpse, you don't bury him and leave the legs. You bury him totally. So you don't bury the this and leave some of this in. I'm sure that you should take steps to deal with it. Thank you.
Yes, let him hear Sam George so that you. Because
Mr. Speaker, I thank you. I want to ask the minister. There is an act of parliament that an agency he oversees transfers monies that are deducted to another agency. That act of parliament was passed based on the challenges that were existing. What steps is he taking as minister to ensure that the agency under his watch, the Ghana Airport Company Limited, complies with the act of parliament to transfer 5% of the APSC to the Ghana Meteorological Authority on time after deductions? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable, let's hear you.
Mr. Speaker, I acknowledge the enormity of the whole situation. Mr. Speaker, it's a thorny issue that as a minister I'm working towards resolving the issue. Mr. Speaker, before the act was passed, there had already been a challenge with the APSC in terms of commitment to other institutions. So, though the law is there, the Ghana Airport Company themselves, they are not deliberately staffing or refusing to abide by the directive of Parliament. It is because of the challenge that is confronting them before the law was passed. I do not want to play down the situation that maybe when the law was being, when they were looking at the bill, then the problem was there and they did not have to look at it. Whatever being the case, it is now an act and we must make sure that we certify it. So, Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Airport Company is engaging GMET, and I'm sure, and I can tell you on authority, now, though they may not be in a position to regularly fulfill their commitment, but they are doing their best within the circumstances. And we will try to resolve both matters. That will enable or free them, give them some space to be able to go by the directive of Parliament. So I think that is a challenge, but I will make sure. And for now, we are having a good relationship with GMAT. And they themselves recognize the problem that is confronting the Ghana Airport Company. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
So let me give the last floor to Minority Leader.
Speaker, let me thank the Minister for Transport the question and for assuring this House. Mr. Speaker, the matter we are discussing, I will plead with you to indulge me, is a serious matter, and therefore the assurance by the minister to this August House is important. Only on 7th March of this year, the Emirates flight from Dubai could not land in Accra at a very tragic level. That's how much the unavailability of good and reliable weather forecast meant for an airline on 7th of March. I'm sure your record will tell you. They had to divert the flight to Abidjan, La Côte d'Ivoire. This happened. So the flight had to be diverted just at the point of landing. So GMET is inadequately resourced to provide adequate weather for the aviation industry. Is the minister happy supervising a breach of law by the Ghana Airport Company not releasing money to GMET as required by law? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To avert an air accident in Ghana.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I will thank the Honorable Minority Leader for his position on this matter. And he knows that directing planes at the time of landing to other places may not only be attributable to weather. Even if it's weather, at the instant, I'll be in a plane whereby you have been asked to divert the landing from London to Paris. I'm sure that they have proper weather system to monitor them. But circumstances may detect that you cannot land at that particular time. But Mr. Speaker, I want to assure you that I do not want any of my agencies to break the law. And he knows that I will be the first person who will not give them the chance once a policy directive. But Mr. Speaker, if there's also a problem there, you must also diagnose that particular problem and see why is it that you are not able to religiously give that 5% to them. And that is a particular problem that I am trying to solve. And I can assure this House that it will not be long. That issue will be resolved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, we turn to question 1099. Question 1099. Honorable Member for Northton, Honorable Okujuta Brokwa.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Transport steps the ministry is taking to address purported instances of regulatory breaches by McDan Aviation, as contained in official communication from the Ghana Airports Company Limited. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Ghana Airport Company Limited has held a series of meetings with McDan Aviation Handling Services Limited, the instances of regulatory breaches. The parties consider and agree on the following. Why, Mr. Speaker? Safety and security issues. A. McDan Aviation to present safety management manual and airport security program to GACL. B. GACL to retrain McDan Aviation staff under the directive of Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. The status of implementation, Mr. Speaker, McDan Aviation has submitted its safety management manual and airport security program to GACL. 2. GACL has organized training for McDan Aviation staff. 2. Financial issues. GACL to reconcile McDan Aviation outstanding debt and provide feedback. Status of implementation, Mr. Speaker, reconciliation completed and payment plan reached by both parties. Mr. Speaker, these are the summary of the issues and actions taken to address these regulatory breaches. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Kujoto.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my first question, if the Honourable Minister will kindly pay attention. I listened to the Minister carefully and I've read his response. And there is no indication that McDan was sanctioned for all the breaches, the litany of breaches. I have the various communications here from Ghana Airports Company, January 28, proceeding without the construction operation approval. I have another one, January 31st, failure to comply with a directive from KIA not to proceed with the operations. Another one, January 24th, on their financial obligations that they are not meeting. So many infractions and breaches. But it doesn't appear that any sanctions have been taken against McDan Aviation. Can we know why is that? And is it the case that the removal of Mr. Yakwaka, the managing director, serves as some indication that he is rather being held responsible by government for this communication and the various letters pointing to infractions that I referred to?
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I will answer the latter part of this question. Mr. Speaker, in my communique to relieve Mr. Yakwaka of his position, it was clearly stated the reason why it had gone at it, and I think that the Honourable Member knows that none of this thing is attributable to his dismissal or his removal. So I don't know why he's trying to attribute his removal to anything relating to McDan. But Mr. Speaker, I don't know why he's talking about sanction. Maybe the specific infraction does not necessarily demand that the person should be sanctioned. It may be a correction process that he needs to go through. And once they can sit down with him and correct those breaches, I don't see the essence of sanction, unless the law specifically says that if you do not do this, we will sanction you. Thank you very much.
Yes, Honourable. Your last question.
Well, it's a question. My last question is from item number 2A of the Honourable Minister's response relating to financial issues. The Honourable Minister indicates to us that GSEL and McDan Aviation have reconciled the outstanding financial obligations to GSEL. Is the Honourable Minister able to tell us the amount involved? This is a house of record. The amount involved and specifics on the payment plan, so we can monitor as a house to know if GSEL, which belongs to all of us, is being treated fairly.
Yes, Honourable Minister, before you respond, Honourable members, please, the time is 2 o'clock, so kindly indulge me to extend sitting beyond the normal hours. So, Minister, let's hear you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It is true that civil aviation or Ghana Airport Company or even the aviation industry belong to all of us. But they also have their own business transactions they do with their clients. And at times, it's also difficult for you to put out certain information if you don't have permission from your client. But I can confidently say that there has been an agreement reached between both parties. And like the Honourable Member is saying, this is a house of records. I should be sure about the sort of amount that he owns. But they've indicated to me, and I know that an arrangement has been made for those debts to be paid. And that one, you can be comfortably be assured that they've reached an agreement with them. Period, which is satisfactory to
to both parties, because at the same time too, we must make sure that we don't put too much obligation on your client. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Honorable Leader, last question.
Mr. Speaker, does McDan owe Ghana Airport Company, and how much of it have been paid and how much of it is outstanding, Honorable Minister?
Mr. Speaker, McDan has a contractual obligation with Ghana Airport Company Limited. Within the contractual obligation, there's a limited time with which some of these debts are to be paid. And like I said, an agreement has been reached that those debts will be paid within the time agreed between the both parties. But specifically, I know that the honorable member is interested how much is owed. How much? Mr. Speaker, I said I can say 2 cedis, I can say 5 cedis. I don't have I will have the particular amount and finish this out. It is not a problem. It is not a problem. But Mr. Speaker, honorable member wants to, yes, I need to be candid with you. I need to be very candid with you. You know that he owns, the party said they've reached an agreement with the debt, they've put in an arrangement for him to be paid. That particular amount has not been stated. But I can easily find out and tell you. I do not want to contact you. I do not want to tell you something that tomorrow you say that your good friend has not been truthful to you. So if you can give me time, it is not a rocket science. I can easily find out from them and finish this out. So the amount that he owns, Ghana Airport Company. Thank you.
Leader.
I hear the coach helping the minister. One man, one machete. Are we in a tomato farm? The Speaker, the Honorable Ablakwa served notice to the minister. McDan Aviation owes Ghana Airport Company. The minister is talking about an agreement for settlement. Mr. Speaker, yourself a respected lawyer. How can they have an agreement for settlement when the amount is not known? We want to know how much McDan owes Ghana Airport Company. Is it $4 million or $24 million?
Yes.
I'll be happy to read the question to the minority leader, so that this thing will be settled once and for all. Mr. Speaker, the question the honorable member asked to ask the Minister for Transport steps taken to address purported instance of regulatory breaches by McDan Aviation as contained official communication from Ghana Airport Company. He did not ask how much McDan owns Ghana Airport Company Limited.
Very well. So, honorable members, he has answered the question. So, we move to question 1272. 1272. Honorable Member for Akan. Honorable Yao Gumado. Honorable, let's hear you.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Transport what measures the ministry is taking for graduates of the Regional Maritime University to undergo cadetship.
Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as has been the practice, the Regional Maritime University collaborates with shipping lines to provide cadetship training for its graduates. Currently, Banaschuta, a German shipping management company, takes cadets from RMU on board its vessel every year and has a permanent office complex at the university. Also, discussions are ongoing with Greek Shipping Management Company Limited in the same respect. Mr. Speaker, we are also pursuing an aggressive program to modernize Regional Maritime University with support from Korean Exim Bank under the Economic Development Cooperation Framework Agreement between the governments of Ghana and the good people of South Korea. Mr. Speaker, as part of the project, a training vessel will be provided to the university for on-board practical training. This will ensure that cadets will go through the cadetship program at sea for a minimum number of months required for practice after they graduate. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Gomado, any supplementary question?
Mr. Speaker, I would like to seize this opportunity to commend Captain Joshua of Benashus for their good work they're doing and for companies. Referring to paragraph 1 of the Minister's answer, he stated, also discussions are ongoing with Greek Ship Management Company, also known as Danao Shipping Company Limited, in the same respect. When do we expect this?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Mr. Speaker, I'm trying to find out from the Minister with his answer. Discussions are ongoing with Greek Ship Management Company known as Danao Shipping Company Limited in the respect of training purposes. When do we expect this to come to effect?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. They were here in May. Even last month, they came back. We have had a preliminary discussion following to another management decision. They are supposed to get back to us by the end of September. And I'm hoping that by the end of September, we should get good response from them. Thank you very much.
Your last supplementary question.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, he has also come out in paragraph 2 that as part of the project, a training vessel will be provided for the university for onboard training, onboard practical training. This will ensure that cadets will go through the cadetship program at sea for the minimum number of months required for practice after they graduate. May we know the timeline, please?
Mr. Speaker, the Minister for Finance put in this year's budget this particular facility. The kickoff meeting has started. Korea Exim Bank was here last week. They came, they had a meeting, they met the Minister for Finance, the Minister of Finance for further discussion. We are hoping that the consultant will be hired. Today, the first loan facility agreement is in this house. Now that they go and they bring the final report, we will bring the loan agreement. I do not envisage that this thing will go beyond middle of next year. Looking at the space with which we are working, buying all time, all things being equal, I'm hoping that by the middle of next year, we should be able to access this facility. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Pachi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I beg to differ from the Minister's answer that it has been a practice that Regional Maritime University collaborate with shipping lines.
Honorable Member, what did you say?
I said I beg to differ from your answer from the first.
You were to ask the Minister a question.
Yes, and because from my own experience, we had a shipping line or a special vessel for training. That's MV Nakwa, where I was trained as a cadet on that vessel. So I would like to know if the Minister is thinking of having similar capacity for the cadets.
May you speak up? Speak to the microphone.
Okay, I said I want to differ from the Minister's answer that the cadets are being trained, as has been the practice, that you collaborate with other shipping lines. And I'm saying that no, That is not the situation, because I was trained in the Maritime University, where we had a shipping line. We had MV Nakwa, where I was trained. So I would like to know if you are planning of something like that, rather than collaborating with other shipping lines. You are not listening to me. It is not my fault that you don't.
Honourable member, please ask your question instead of.
He is saying that he is making gestures that he is not hearing.
The preface to your question is a bit problematic.
It is not, Mr. Speaker.
Why is it not?
Mr. Speaker,
you don't,
and my question is going to follow up. That has he got any plans to go the way? Because he's saying that has been the practice. I'm saying that no, that is not the practice. The practice is that I was trained on MV Nakwa River, which belongs to the Black Star Line. So are you thinking of something like that to help our students? And secondly, the aim of the students at the Maritime University, is not to repay. Mr. Minister, can you please listen? Please.
Honourable member, please. This is a supplementary question.
He is not paying attention. He's disturbing.
Who is disturbing?
The minister. He's making gestures. Yes. Can you please let him keep quiet for me to ask the question, please?
Hold on. Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, I believe members should be guided on how to ask questions. We will get up. You ask a question. The minister professes an answer. If you have a supplementary question, bring the supplementary question. You don't argue with the minister that I beg to differ, and then you go on your own frolic. That is not how questions are asked in this house. So please, ask the supplementary question and see from the original the answer given by the minister. That's how questions are asked.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm quoting the answer the minister gave. Yes.
So honourable member, please.
Yes.
You want just to elucidate information from the answer that the minister.
But if the answer is wrong, if the answer is not, I do not agree with the answer, because he said that the answer is that they collaborate. That is the normal. I said no, that is not the normal, because I was trained in the school.
The answer is wrong.
Yes. Oh, yes. He said it is the normal practice, and I said that no.
No, honourable member, the mere fact you've gone through the walls of that school doesn't mean that you know everything. He is the minister. He has come with an information.
My question
is
that
if you don't agree with it, just ask your question, please.
So I do not have the opportunity to correct that answer. Is that what you're telling me?
Honourable Kwachi.
Yes, please.
You are not prepared to answer your question. So let me give the opportunity.
Okay, the question is that has he got any plans to go to the actual training session that we have that shipping line, that MV Nakwa River, which is the normal practice which we had. Has he got any plans for that? And secondly.
No, we don't have a second person. Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to know that the honourable member was trained under the blaster line system. Unfortunately for the honourable member and myself, we don't have a blaster line today. And we cannot because we don't have a blaster line, let our cadet not to be trained. So only available option to us is to partner with shipping lines to take our cadet on board. But let me assure the honourable member that as part of the CD Korea Exim Bank facility, there's a training vessel at the blaster line that you are looking for. So once this parliament passes that, agree or approve that particular law, blaster line will come back. Thank you very much.
He exhausted the opportunity. Let him give the opportunity to another Tema man. Honourable, is it Tema West? Tema West, let's hear you.
Speaker, thank you very much. So I come under Order 62 and request your guidance with respect to the fact that the minister has been standing on his feet more than 1.5 hours. And I think that under the normal rules of engagement, by this time the minister should be discharged, unless you want us to continue asking these questions. Because he's been asking questions close to 2 hours, and I don't
see why Order 62 should not discharge him from this responsibility. Mr. Speaker, I'll be guided with your direction in this matter. Thank you.
Anyway, I'm fully aware of the time, and I know what I'm doing. The minister is left with one question. I just want to allow him to go through, so that, because he should have been here the previous, I think, couple of weeks, and members were not happy that he was not able to come to the chamber. So let's allow the process to go on. He will finish with, I think he's left one question. Honorable member for Tema East, the last question for this particular question.
Mr. Speaker, as a follow-up to the minister's response, where he assures that cadets would, through the cadetship program, be trained. Mr. Speaker, we know that the institution, which is Ghana Maritime Authority, serves the West African coastline with maritime academic and research items. Currently, the Ghanaian principal or head of the institution is on interdiction for more than a year and a half. And I think that could impede the programs of the ministry. How is the minister ensuring that the leadership of the institution will be in place so that the programs he is enumerating would be implemented? Thank you.
Minister, do you have information?
Mr.
Yes,
Speaker.
I know what I'm doing, please.
Mr. Speaker.
It's not part of the...
Yes, Mr. Speaker, though it may not be part of the question, but I can tell him that IMU has a board. The school is being governed by the board, and the board is taking steps to make sure that the university gets a substantive, or whatever action that they go to, it's in the interest of the university. So you should be rest assured that everything will be fine.
Very well. Honorable Gomado, let's take your last substantive question. The last substantive question. 1273.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. I rise to ask the Minister for Transport the state of the draft bill on Cabotage.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Cabotage regulation was presented to this August House for consideration and approval. It was subsequently approved and gazetted on 16th of December 2021. The regulation is now referred to as the Ghana Shipping Cabotage Regulation 2021 LI 2438. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member, any further question?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I think my question is not well answered. I'm asking of a bill, a draft bill, and the answer here is on regulations. I want clarification in this regard. Is it into law or it's in the regulation?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what I presented to this House was Ghana Cabotage Regulation, but not Ghana Cabotage Bill, which regulation has been passed. Thank you.
Yes,
Mr.
Honorable, your last.
Yeah, I would like to know when these regulations will be implemented.
Mr. Speaker, once it expires, we are taking steps because we need to go through some administrative processes to start the implementation of the regulation. Thank you very much.
Kwachi, I will never come to you. You've spoken too much today. So, honorable members, minority leader, are you asking a question? Very well.
Mr. Speaker, so this is my area.
Honorable members.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, please, I'm a marine chief engineer, so please allow me to contribute. It will help us.
Honorable members, I would like to thank the minister for attending upon the House to answer, is it 9 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 questions? Honorable Minister, we thank you very much. You are hereby discharged. Honorable Leader, we have so many statements.
Speaker, respectfully, I want to plead with you to vary the order of business to enable me, to enable the Minister responsible for Finance present a paper to the House that has to do with item listed as 8A. 8A. You can deal with the presentation of papers.
Yes, honourable members, shall we turn to page 4? Page 4, at the commencement of public business, item listed 8, presentation of papers. We will begin with 8A by the Minister for Finance.
Speaker, the Minister is at the moment at Cabinet, and if you may permit me, I'll present the paper on behalf of the Minister for Finance.
Honourable members, please, we can't hear anything. Let's have some silence. Honourable members, the annual statement has been duly presented. It will refer to the Committee on Finance for consideration and report. Are we taking 8B by the chairman?
The Speaker, respectfully, I was only making the application. And the table officers would need, once you agree, the table officers once you agree, I'll bow and the table officers will read the title before the referral is made. Your application is to stand in place of the Minister of Finance to present the paper listed as item 8A. And if you indulge me, then I'll do that.
So which one specifically?
8A, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, 8A.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the National Lottery Authority for the year 2021.
Honourable members, the annual statement has been duly presented. It will refer to the Committee on Finance for consideration and report. Yes, Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there are others listed under 8.
8B, IV.
8B, the committee chair is there.
The chairman.
Mr. Speaker, is 8B, IV.
IV.
Report of the Finance Committee on the loan agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Finance, and the Government of the Republic of Korea, acting through the Export-Import Bank of Korea, Government Agency for the Economic Development Corporation Fund, for an amount in Korean won, not exceeding the equivalent of 147,100,000 United States dollars, to finance the implementation of the improvement of the Volta Lake Transport System project.
Honourable members, the report has been duly presented. It is for the distribution to honourable members. Yes, member for Who Central.
Please, I want to find out from
Chairman.
the chairman whether the report
Chairman.
is ready. We just made this money and you are laying the paper. Which type of laying is that?
Kangaroo.
I don't remember. It's important that if you don't have information, you ask for it. Right. So I'm saying that the report is ready. If you want a copy, you see a copy. Have you spoken with Ranking? Have you spoken with Ranking? So in the end, we are not taking it today. We're just laying it. And therefore, what is it? If we don't lay it, we cannot distribute it. I'm saying I'm only laying. But I have it. Why this item?
Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Chairman of the committee should just admit that he is doing a kangaroo laying. Because you met this morning, and if the report is ready, bring us a copy.
That's legitimate. But I don't know the strain. What's kangaroo laying?
You know it.
I don't know it. I know. What's kangaroo laying?
They met this morning. Even the draft report has not been done for him to look at. He's laying the report. The order says as soon as copies of the report are ready. So we want copies of the report now. We want to see it. Because we need to read it before we make a contribution. Don't do this kangaroo laying.
Anyway, Chairman, I think it's belated now. We've already. So, are you following the rest?
Mr. Speaker, the understanding I got from leader is that he probably will be attending cabinet, and given the state of affairs, his wish, as he communicated to me, was for us to look at the hydraulic authority bill at consideration, but he was going to rely on the Honourable Bernard Ahiafo and the chairman. Regrettably, Ahiafo is not here, so he got indication that we can do a statement and adjourn. That's the understanding I got from the leader. So, if the statement from Honourable Kwame Enyimadu on parliamentarism, or probably there is a statement on FQ from the Honourable Member for Kintampo. Either of them, we can take one or the two, and then we adjourn. That is the understanding. But Mr. Speaker, since admissibility of statement is yours, you may decide which of them you want to take. And then after the statement, just one comment, then we can adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Leader. So, honourable members, may I bring you back to statement time? So, item 7 on today's paper statement, and we will begin with statement from Honourable Member for Asante Achem Central, who is the chairman of Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, on International Day of Parliamentarism. International Day on Parliamentarism.
Mr. Speaker.
So this is a statement on we the parliament, parliamentarians. So I understand Honourable Member for Sunyani East is reading that statement on his behalf. So we will give him our attention. So Honourable Member for Sunyani East. You have the floor now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for indulging me to read this statement on behalf of our colleague, Mr. Kwame Ayimedu MP, the Member of Parliament for Asante Achim Central. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to make a statement to mark this year's celebration of International Day of Parliamentarism. The International Day of Parliamentarism is observed on June 30 to honor the parliaments the world over. A United Nations General Assembly resolution promulgated it in 2018. The day recognizes the unique and enduring system of parliamentary democracy as being the standard for political representation. It also honors the founding values of upholding parliaments and the promise of political representation to citizens in democratic states. The day further recognizes how parliaments can conduct self-evaluations to take stock of progress, identify challenges, and formulate ways to address them. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, International Day of Parliamentarism serves as a reminder for us to strive for equitable representation for all citizens, since parliaments are the cornerstone of functioning democracies. Mr. Speaker, the word parliament was derived from the French word parler, which means to speak. Therefore, the people's representatives in Parliament are with the burden to give voice to the voiceless. In 2021, Mr. Speaker, the Inter-Parliamentary Union, IPU, and the member parliaments marked the day with a number of events focusing on youth empowerment. For this year's celebration, the IPU and the member parliaments are marking the day under the theme of public engagement, following the recent launch of the Global Parliamentary Report on Public Engagement in the Work of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, there is a need to use this opportunity to reflect on the strides this fourth Republican dispensation has made. Mr. Speaker, from the inception of the 1992 Constitution up to date, Ghana has held 8 successful multi-party parliamentary and presidential elections. The peaceful transfer of power from one government to the other for the past 2 decades clearly demonstrates how far Ghana has traveled along the path of democratic consolidation. Even when one party or the other felt dissatisfied, due processes were followed for a redress. Mr. Speaker, for the first time in the annals of our parliamentary history in Ghana, the 7th Parliament of the 4th Republic on Thursday, 16th July 2020, adopted a motion for the enactment of Private Members' Bill. Prior to this, non-minister members of Parliament could not initiate legislation from the House. The significance of this feat is the availability of this legislative tool for use by members of Parliament to bridge some of the gaps that exist in the laws for the benefit of the citizen. Mr. Speaker, Another area worthy of mentioning is the representation of women in our parliament. Our parliament has seen consistent growth in the number of women in the parliament since the beginning of the Fourth Republic in 1992, except in 2008 when the percentage dropped from 11 to 9%. Even though women's representation in parliament continues to be very low, records show that there has been marginal increases over the past decade and a half. For instance, the 275 members of this 8th Parliament has 40 female members of Parliament, 20 from each side of the House. This represents 14.5% of the total population of the members of Parliament, as our male colleagues continue to be in the convincing majority. The Speaker, apart from the above-mentioned strides, permit me to bring to the fore public perception about the primary mandate of the Member of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, a report on the publication on public perception of members of Parliament conducted between November and December 2015 by the Institute of Economic Affairs, IEA, revealed, among others, that Ghanaians have misconstrued the primary role of members of Parliament. This is because 70% of the respondents were of the view that the MP's role is either to undertake developmental projects or assist their constituents. Contrary to these views or perceptions, the role of MPs are lawmaking, representation and oversight. Mr. Speaker, one other issue of concern is the high attrition rate. The high attrition rate that has characterized the Fourth Republican Parliament is a matter that should be of concern to all political parties and political actors. Indeed, the attrition rate is proving to be very detrimental to parliamentary work, as it deprives the House of the institutional memory and the requisite experience critical for effective and efficient delivery of the mandate of Parliament, including lawmaking and financial scrutiny. Building the capacity of members of Parliament takes considerable time, as competence usually comes with practice and experience. Mr. Speaker, the public, through the work of civil society organizations, get involved in deep research and policy proposals on a wide range of themes, from governance to human rights, gender, disability, peace and security, agriculture and trade, among others. Many parliaments the world over, especially those who are resource constrained, have often considered civil society as alternative resource or research hubs for information to enrich the decisions and the work of Parliament. To this end, Mr. Speaker, I will encourage that our Parliament seeks avenues of engaging more with the public through civil society organizations so that we can benefit from the knowledge reservoirs and think tanks available from the domain. As we continue to engage them in their respective thematic areas, our committees will be enriched and empowered through the knowledge exchanges and information sharing. This, for me, is the angle of public engagement we should look at. Mr. Speaker, I am told that this House will be commemorating the occasion by holding a knowledge exchange forum on 5th July 2022. The Knowledge Exchange Forum, I am informed, will provide the platform for civil society organizations, academia, and corporate Ghana to share their vast research work in numerous thematic areas with committees of Parliament to enhance their oversight, representational, and legislative work. This is surely a mark of public engagement. Mr. Speaker, more avenues of public engagement may, however, be interrogated in the course of our work as a House. By way of conclusion, Mr. Speaker, may I humbly take this opportunity to congratulate honorable members on the occasion of the celebration of the Day of Parliamentarism. Long live freedom and justice, long live democracy, long live parliaments the world over, and long live the Parliament of Ghana. I'm grateful for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let's keep our contribution comment. So, Honorable Northton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful to you for the opportunity to contribute to the statement which has been very eloquently delivered on behalf of the Honorable Kwame Nyumedu Enchi. The statement commemorates the International Day of Parliamentarianism, which is observed on June 30 every year. The Speaker, it is important to note that the day is now so important and crucial on the UN calendar of commemorative events since 2018, and by UN Resolution ARES 72278, the United Nations unanimously adopted this day to be commemorated to celebrate parliaments across the world. And Mr. Speaker, the International Parliamentary Union must be celebrated on this day for centuries of advocacy that led to this very important United Nations commemoration. As we all know, the IPU has been in existence since 1889, and it now has 179 members. Mr. Speaker, the maker of the statement has brilliantly shared his thoughts on Ghana's parliament and what we can do to improve, particularly our anemic gender credentials. We are nowhere near the international benchmark, which is at least 30%. We really must commit as a country to do more to encourage more female participation in our parliamentary democracy. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, the 8th Parliament has also presented a very historic opportunity for our country. For the first time, we have a hung parliament, and for the first time, we have a speaker who is not from the president's party. many people have been quite hesitant and sometimes even scared about what that means for our democracy and nurturing our democracy and strengthening our democracy. But I see it more as a positive, and I think we should embrace it boldly. It has so far served us well, and we can, in these uncharted waters, agree to work together to be more conciliatory and to focus on the matters that are of national interest, that are not, of extreme partisanship. There are so many things that bind us together than what divides us. At the end of the day, we have a common destiny. We are the same people who will love to live in a prosperous society that has eliminated or defeated poverty, disease, and ignorance. So, Mr. Speaker, we can really pool resources and work together with the very historic parliament that we now have. And having said that, Mr. Speaker, I note that the maker of the statement is also focusing on the theme for this year's celebration, which is on civic engagements, ensuring that parliaments are brought to the doorstep of the people. The Speaker, that's really the essence of Parliament. Parliament is a house of the people, and we must always be in touch with the people and carry the hopes and aspirations of the people. We must not distance ourselves from the people. And that is why this year's commemoration will be very well appreciated by the people who elect us and the people we serve. We know, Mr. Speaker, that in the Constitution Review Commission's report, the matter relating to Article 78(1) of the Constitution, majority of ministers being appointed from Parliament, has come up. And it has been discussed as one of the issues that makes the Ghanaian Parliament a bit, weak and beholden to the executive. I think the time has come for us to revisit that Constitution Review report and see if we can implement the recommendations. I recall that they made very far-reaching recommendations about freeing the hand of the president to appoint as many people as he wants to appoint from wherever, not necessarily from Parliament, and so that we will build career parliamentarians. People should come to Parliament because they want to be parliamentarians and because they want to carry out parliamentary oversight, not because they want to catch the eye of the president, not because they see Parliament as a stepping stone. When that happens, when their party is in power, particularly, and they do not get appointed, they get demoralized, and you notice that they do not give of their best, and the work of Parliament then suffers. So I take the view that we really should take a second look at Article 78(1). I am on all fours with the Constitution Review Commission that we should really remove that provision, amend it, allow presidents to appoint however they want to, whether a few from Parliament or even exclusively from outside, and let us strengthen Parliament. Let's resource Parliament. If you look at the rankings, we don't do very well in terms of support for Parliament, in terms of even offices, salaries, remuneration, staffing, constituency offices, and all of that. The Kenyans are way ahead of us. The Rwandans are way ahead of us. So I know it's a sensitive matter, but if we situate it within how to make sure that Parliament serves the people well and serves them very responsibly, I'm sure that the Ghanaian people will come along with us. Ultimately, it's about they having a presence, they getting close to us, and with all the employment opportunities, it will go to the people. So I think that we should really look at strengthening Parliament and building career parliamentarians. Elsewhere, you have parliamentarians who have served for 30 years, 40 years, even going into 50 years. And nobody calls them Mugabes, nobody is in a hurry to get rid of them. The experience that you gather over the years is also helpful. You bring it to bear, and it helps the institution. So, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I commend the maker of the statement, and I hope that we will all rededicate ourselves to serving the people and promoting the principles of parliamentarism, which is central to democracy. Anytime there's a coup, it's Parliament that is the first institution that is dissolved by the coup makers. So we have suffered so many interruptions, and so we should cherish this longest sustained democratic dispensation in our history and make sure that our democracy and our representation endures to the benefit of the people. With these words, Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Let me come to Honourable Member for Buakwa South. Please, let's keep our comments very, very brief. You want to contribute? You also want to contribute? I see. Anyway, let me.
Yes. Honourable Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the statement on the floor. And it seems to me that the commemorative statement to mark international, trying to bring people to understand our role. Sometimes they might even think that we do not matter. The parliamentarian is the one who is now involved in poverty alleviation. When we're a member of parliament, the amount of money that people expect you to dole out to alleviate poverty, I don't want to go there. A member of parliament is buying coffins. The member of parliament is trying to help people go to school. A member of parliament is giving out funeral donations. And many donations which people might want to call entitlements. Well, you said divorce donations. If outdoorings, the child that you did not father, somebody is expecting that you come and do money so that they name the child. And sometimes you begin to wonder whether we are not being oppressed. So in trying to educate the public, I'm afraid they know our role, but they will not permit us to go free because they believe that there is a stash of money that a member of parliament has, and they should dole out the money. But that is very interesting thing that we want to look at. It's very important. Honourable Speaker, I do not believe we are getting the best as the fulcrum of democracy. I've heard stories that we approve the budget of the nation. So our role in trying to ensure in the system, you can never wish it away. But we also have it as a fact that the one who approves the money half the time is begging for releases of his own money to run the system. It should never be said that we want to approve money for the entire nation by way of the budget, but what we need to make us effective, we need to cry for it. I want to stress that in trying to do the civil education, it should also be clear that Parliament is an arm of government, not an appendage of government. The day this wisdom will dawn strong in our political journey, I mean, the attitude towards this house will change. We are an arm of government, not an appendage of government. So significant. And what it takes for us to do our work very well should not be taken for granted. Honourable Speaker, I heard a very interesting dimension of our work, that there's a high attrition rate. I was having a conversation with a member of this side of the House as to whether he wants to contest as a member, as a candidate. They call the primaries. And he looked at me in my face and said, I do not think I have to spend 8 million Ghana cedis so I come back and serve the very people who believe that without a huge donation to them, fight to serve them. What a contradiction in terms. You're going to serve people, you're going to waste a lot of energies, and they disturb your peace. You can even have a phone call at 4 a.m. because somebody believes that you should pay for something that is entitled to. But before you stand in that office, the monetary blackmail is sufficient punishment to you. And that is what is causing the attrition rate. There are many more brilliant and powerful people who do not want to enter this house because of that dimension of they taking everything which is yours, because you are the people's representative. And if you are in the executive, you can have a field day because nobody will come and tackle you in respect of that. Honorable Speaker, until such a time that the education should percolate, that you do not have to treat a member of parliament in the way we are treated, many more people will leave this place very early. You're talking about the problem of staying here for long. Some people will not stay here for long for the very reason that even the so-called gratuity they make noise about is already mortgaged. I'm telling you, if you measure the monies that the member of parliament doles out as against the so-called gratuity, he is doing free service for the nation. And many people say, well, let's retire early. And if somebody should sit here for 5 terms, you see that he's fatigued already. That is why you have people doing just 2 terms and they are out. So, Honorable Speaker, the issues are deeper than we think. And we're trying to say that we want parliamentarism, which is also the essence of democracy. That we are sandwiched between the executive and the judiciary. When you remove this august house from the whole equation of democracy, there will be no democracy. We should have this clear understanding. And that will encourage people to come and serve this nation well. But what is the alternative? Without this house, there will be chaos. Without we being here to look at how monies of the state are spent, the problem will be deeper than we think. So I think it is very opportune that this statement has been made, and I believe there is a whole warfare that we need to wage. The warfare of changing the mentality of the ordinary Ghanaian that the member of parliament is a money source that should be drawn upon. If that is not done, this whole business of civic education will not aid democracy and prop up democracy. I thank you for giving me the small space to make a contribution to this very important statement. I'm grateful to you.
Honorable Gomashi, let me come to leadership. But I hope you are not offended. Then just let me give you 2 minutes to say something.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had to go all the way over to the maker of the statement, Honorable Kwame Enyimadu, because I found the statement very educative. I want to thank him most sincerely for taking the trouble to write about the International Day of Parliamentarism. Mr. Speaker, in one of the I think the 5th or so paragraph, or 6th, he commends Parliament for the strides we have made in the increase in the numbers of women in Parliament. And I just happened to have been reading the parliamentary debate and the fact that one of the committees of Parliament, even today in 2022, Mr. Speaker, the Privileges Committee has 25 members and there's only one woman on that committee. Seeing that issues that will go to the committee on privileges may have women coming there, it brings to mind the fact that if you have only one woman on that committee, it's very likely that what will be discussed there will be skewed towards men. And so if we are celebrating ourselves for making strides in bringing 40 women to this house, it is important that we let it reflect in the ways in which we do things. Of course, I mean, contesting, women have to put themselves forward, but forming committees in this parliament must be gender sensitive. Mr. Speaker, there's also the fact that what I thought, even as a former Deputy Minister of State, and what I experienced here are truly very different. It is important that the writer of the statement has also in the last but one paragraph of an activity that the Parliament is going to have, which is named the Knowledge Exchange Forum. It will be very useful for us to have the opportunity to be a part of this so that we can learn more and be able to impart that knowledge to those of us who are not in, Ghanaians who are not in Parliament. But Mr. Speaker, it surprises me sometimes when we know what the law says about our role as parliamentarians, and yet we also contribute to muddying the waters with the kinds of promises and the kinds of ventures that we get into, which ensnares us in the process. And so it is hoped that in celebrating this day and preparing for the knowledge exchange program, we will be guided by this and inform our constituents to know the roles of a parliamentarian, and hopefully the demands will not be as high as it is. I thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let me come to leader. But leader, I hope you are aware today is a Martyrs' Day.
Yes, when I'm concluding.
And I would have wished that something is said about it.
Yes, Martyrs' Day. We have to solidarize with the judiciary of our country, in whose hands the power to adjudicate and to administer justice is vested. And Mr. Speaker, as I contribute to the statement, I believe when I'm concluding, I'll revisit as solidarizing with the co-equal arm of government, the judiciary, in assuring them that never again we want those dark moments in our country's history, and that we have adopted a democracy that we all must contribute to its nurturing and its building and its future, built on the foundations of justice and justice itself. But Mr. Speaker, let me thank the maker of the statement, one of our very experienced members of Parliament, Honorable Amiao, who proudly represents us at the ECOWAS Parliament. He's been in leadership, for reading this statement on behalf of the chairman of the Committee on Constitutional Legal, the Honorable Kwame Anyumedu Enchi, another experienced MP of good standing. In observing today, the 30th of June, the International Day of Parliamentarism, and Mr. Speaker, to join him in congratulating all of us and each of us, at least for making it to the 8th Parliament, to those who were proudly associated with the 7th, 6th, and 5th, their glory is even higher. But Mr. Speaker, in commending him for making this statement, let me raise a number of issues that must necessarily occupy our attention as an institution of Parliament. And to the Member of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, especially the Ghanaian MP, I ask Is he loyal to his party, loyal to his constituency, loyal to his nation, or loyal to himself? And what is he seeking political office for? Is it for purpose of power, for purpose of prestige, for purpose of vanity, or for purpose of public service? We are lost in it, Mr. Speaker. Even the honor of member of, we engage in conduct that certainly is not acceptable. We all abandon the electorate, even they are good for our good, yet we pretend that we are serving them. Mr. Speaker, the maker of the statement raises fundamental issues, and I couldn't agree more with the Honorable Ablakwa when he says that what are we doing with the 8th Parliament and its composition and its opportunity and challenges. Mr. Speaker, I believe, additional to what he suggested, that there is no better period in our country's history for us to embark on constitutional review implementation. So I will move further from where he is. We don't need a constitutional review again. The Professor Adjo Committee did essentially a good work. What we need now is to put in place an implementation committee to review the work of the Constitutional Review Committee, and where necessary, the Professor Fiajo Committee report. Review and make additions to it. Mr. Speaker, as he himself observed, Article 78, MP Minister, their role and the conflict. Mr. Speaker, one of these days, I think you should sponsor some minister MPs. I will encourage the Honorable Attach here to lead the delegation, together with some of our colleagues at the back, to Kenya. Kenya in 2010 amended its constitution, wanting to separate minister from MP. We need to go and learn whether it has served them well or not. I don't want to prejudice what my position is on the matter, but we can learn from best practice. Mr. Speaker, again, the Speaker in the last paragraph talks about focusing on youth empowerment. To what extent has this Parliament contributed to ameliorating the suffering of the Ghanaian youth? To what extent have we contributed in addressing the growing unemployment crisis of our country, where university and polytechnic graduates don't know where to turn to and are still looking up to a choked public sector, which itself needs reforms? So when you talk about youth empowerment, there can be no better opportunity than employment. In fact, Mr. Speaker, I have moved away from the Keynesian economies, where they measure standard of living by GDP. The Honorable Abeji and Co, those of them who know finance, they like economic growth and GDP. The best measure of living standard is employment and nothing more. When your father has a job, you know where breakfast will come from, at least. So, Mr. Speaker, when we talk about youth empowerment, I cannot agree more with you. But this Parliament must do more to create the opportunities that will lead to the empowerment of the youth. Many of our universities are losing it. They are still concentrating on generic general academic training. They are not even moving into the sciences. All of them are interested in marketing and the social sciences, and not doing that which will be able to clothe them. Then, Mr. Speaker, the maker of the statement again, commendation, talks about representation of women. Mr. Speaker, probably that calls for major constitutional reform. In Ghana, you cannot up the numbers of women unless, of course, those of us who have friendly seats are able to seize those seats for women. So maybe Honorable Habib lift Tolong for a woman, then I lift Amalisa for a woman, and I'll leave your Sunyani for a woman. But Mr. Speaker, why the East African countries have been successful is because they have what we call proportional representation. So maybe we should be contemplating in Ghana a second chamber, which second chamber should be dedicated to chiefs, women, and youth. At least, if for nothing, after third reading of bill, we can put it in the constitution that it must go to that body before the president ascends to it. So probably we should be thinking, or allow that at least, if you want to increase women representation, then it must be regional. Then we say that each region must, either through competitive election or make a determination of 5 women to represent them at the National Assembly. That can fit into the current constitutional architecture of the 1992 Constitution. But Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, and co are all successful because of the advantage of proportional representation. Then, Mr. Speaker, the maker of the statement talks about what the Honorable Atachia have built on attrition. Ghana now is democracy on sale and for sale to the highest bidder. So yes, that's Ghana today. Democracy is on sale. When you have chief executives who come and will sweep out seasoned members of parliament because they are broke or they are poor or they don't have enough money to be able, pardon my word, to bribe their way into becoming members of parliament, Mr. Speaker, then you sit here and say that you are proud. What proud? Our democracy is simply on sale, and on sale to the highest bidder. We are now auctioning it, that if you have money, come and run. That is why quality is no longer an integral feature of this August House. And we need to do something about it. Mr. Speaker, maybe the political parties must have a way of forming the determination of candidates to contest elections on the ticket of the parties. And I believe that some role can be given to the parliamentary leadership if we ourselves will be honest and impartial enough to do an assessment of the MPs. Mr. Speaker, you remember those days when we had to lose some of our experienced MPs. Even today, it's showing on the floor. When we get to consideration stage of lawmaking, not too many of us are enthusiastic. They're very experienced. So, Mr. Speaker, maybe even Parliament itself must train a few members of Parliament, go out there and come back and learn modern day drafting. When we say despite, then they say notwithstanding, then they say our English is colonial English. Mr. Speaker, so we need to train. But the monetization of our democracy must be of concern to our political parties. And Mr. Speaker, we should not just take it lightly. It remains the gravest threat to the sustenance of multi-party constitutional democracy in Ghana, other than the threats that were aligned to vigilantism and other matters. So we must take it much more seriously. I'm not surprised what the Honorable Atachi have said. You have even a candidate who can tell you that I spent 8 million to get into Parliament. How is he going to recoup that money? Corruption. It will be through illicit and lawful ways of wanting to recoup that money. So, Mr. Speaker, that is why researchers have determined in Ghana. And, Mr. Speaker, there are 2 important points I like that here for making. The blackmail. But apart from the blackmail, in our democracy, because you have money, you are elected here, you spend time trying to recover your money. How much is your ex gratia? That you spend 8 million to come here, then when you are going out, you take that paltry sum of money. So how are you going to cope and not die early with the stress of blackmail and others? You die early because the amount of money you spend, you can't recover it. So that is why members come here and then we engage in those questionable things that can be embarrassing to the honor of being a member of Parliament. So, Mr. Speaker, let me conclude by thanking the maker of the statement, an experienced member of Parliament. But, Mr. Speaker, to express worry, the IPU, which has 186 members of Parliament, the global Parliament, the U.S. Congress, and the U.S. House of Representatives still don't participate in it. We must find out why and make sure that appropriate decisions are taken, maybe at the UN General Assembly and others, because you cannot say Parliament and when the global parliaments meet, there's one of the democracies that have given birth to world democracy itself, will not be participating in those processes. So, Mr. Speaker, I believe that it's about time that we have a constitutional implementation review committee. Then, Mr. Speaker, I'm reminded that today is Matthias, the Chief Justice and other justices of the Court of Adjudicature are observing this day. And it's only proper that the co-equal organ of state, the Parliament of Ghana, stands in solidarity with them. And there are that never again should we allow that to happen to any citizen of our country, let alone a person entrusted with the power to administer justice. And therefore, we would continue to demonstrate respect to the judiciary of Ghana, but we demand from them fairness and justice. And that is equally important, even in attracting investment into our country and bolstering citizen confidence in the work they do. We remain committed to our democracy with them playing their part. May the souls of those justices and those other persons who died innocently rest in perfect peace. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement even made by my senior colleague, and to use this opportunity to congratulate all members of Parliament and to congratulate myself, Mr. Speaker, for being part of the 8th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. My name will be in the history of this country to be part of the 8th Parliament of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, I couldn't say much, but to associate myself more with our able leader, the minority leader, for the revelations that he has made and observations on our democracy. Mr. Speaker, I happen to get the opportunity to visit the Parliament of Tanzania and to actually see what they do different. If you look at the call in Kenya, whilst Kenyans were saying that members of Parliament should not be ministers, it is a different story in Tanzania. Tanzania, every minister must be a member of Parliament. But there is a caveat that the president is given 10 opportunity to appoint members of Parliament. In that regard, if you are not a member of Parliament and the president ought to make you a minister, the president then make you a minister and appoint you to the Parliament so that you will be a member of Parliament. Same too to the women representation. They have a different scale where they have about 40 seats that they have reserved for women. They have about 262 constituencies that is on battleground. And when it is finished, they don't have enough women in the chamber. Then there are specific constituencies up to 40. Only women will contest those constituencies. And I think Ghana, we need to learn, because both political parties, especially my party, have tried to be able to help women come to Parliament in terms of either dropping the fee they have to pay in terms of filing, either motivating them. But I still think it's not enough. But if we are able to adopt the model of Tanzania, whereby we will have specific constituencies that Kamali Saf, both NDC, MPP, and any other political party, feature in a woman to contest the seat, that will actually help us to have equal representation of women in Parliament. And the same thing that the leader talked about, the Constitutional Review Committee, to look at those issues that have to do with whether ministers have to be in Parliament, ministers don't have to be in Parliament, that we properly need to look at. I think it is high time, due to the money involvement, or like my senior colleague said, our democracy is now for sale. we can actually resort to other form of democracy. Guided and guarded democracy is still a choice that we will be able to see and identify people with equal potentials who will be in the House. There's no denying the fact, many times we lose very solid people in the chamber or in Parliament who could equally help in terms of drafting of bills and laws that we are lacking now in Parliament. Mr. Speaker, if you look at Ghana as we are now and this Parliament, it is giving us an indication what could happen in future. At the moment, we have a Parliament where both political parties have equal numbers or representation, but it doesn't mean it's a hung Parliament. We still have a slim majority on this side. It's just that both political parties have equal numbers, but there is majority on our side. By your able support, Mr. Speaker, we are majority by one. Either majority by half or majority by 3/4 is still majority. So, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, to conclude, and to Mr. Speaker, to conclude, just to also add my voice to the judiciary and to assure them that the time of darkness is over. It was a regrettable moment. It is a regrettable moment. And under the watch of the Commander-in-Chief, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, such moment will never happen in the history of this Ghana. And he will never watch such to happen. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the maker of the statement.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, I still have 12 more statements. 12 statements. And casting my eye around, I could see that the owners of the statements are all sitting around. I can see a free fire, I can see Konedu, I can see so many people. When I come this way, I can see Kofi Adams, I can see Elizabeth, so leadership. Let me at least get direction from you. How many are you taking?
Mr. Speaker, as indicated earlier, I think today we've been able to do a lot. We can take adjournment, we are in your hands, and tomorrow we can consider the rest of the statements.
No, we didn't hear it well.
It's just that power doesn't listen sometimes. And you see,
he said that.
Okay, leader. I'm taking 2 statements, but all of them no comment from any member. Because you see, the point is, another person has come. His also statement has been with me for all the rest. Okay, Elizabeth, let's hear you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make this statement on this very important and worrying subject on growing cyber-related crimes and internet fraud in Ghana. According to the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, internet fraud is the use of internet services or software with internet access to defraud victims or to otherwise take advantage of them. I hope the Hazard Department will just capture the references. Mr. Speaker, internet crime schemes steal millions of cedis each year from victims and continue to plague the internet through various high-profile methods, including impersonation, e-money fraud, check fraud, remittance fraud, forgery, and manipulation of document fraud. According to Cybersecurity Ventures, a California research company, global cybercrime cost is expected to grow by 15% over the next 5 years, reaching $10.5 trillion annually by 2025. Mr. Speaker, cybercrime increase is expected to grow by 600% as a result of COVID. Today, Mr. Speaker, I am sure we all as members of Parliament
have been one way or the other fallen victim of internet-related fraud, a situation where unidentifiable persons create Facebook accounts with our pictures and other details and put on the internet to solicit funds in place of promise for jobs and other favors. The World Economic Forum 2020 Global Risk Report states that the rate of detection is as low as 0.05% in America. If the rate of detection in US is this low, one wonders what the rate of detection for Ghana would be. Mr. Speaker, your guess is as good as mine. 2019 Banking Industry Fraud Report published by the Bank of Ghana. The banking industry reported a total number of 2,295 fraud cases as compared to 2,175 fraud cases reported in 2018. This increase represents a total fraud value of approximately 115.52 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, as noted by the International Telecommunication Union in a recent report, fixed broadband access has increased significantly in all continents as a direct result of teleworking, distant learning, remote entertainment, and telemedicine. So the Hansard will capture also the rest. Considering that in 2020, many routine activities of institutions, including financial transactions that would have otherwise been undertaken in person, were conducted online, as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, customers who were not used to digital electronic methods of making financial transactions were compelled to use them. The reported value of fraud for 2020 was 1 billion cedis, as compared to 115.1 million recorded in 2019. This was due to a total of 2,208 incidents of fraud as compared to 2,311 fraud cases. Mr. Speaker, despite the passage of the landmark Cybersecurity Act 20 Act 1038, I take it again. Mr. Speaker, despite the passage of landmark Cybersecurity Act 2020 at 1038 August House and the creation of Cybersecurity Authority, little has been done to check identity theft, internet and credit card fraud, business scams, lottery scams, hacking, spreading of hate messages, inciting of violent extremism, and grooming and distribution of child pornography, among others. The National Security Strategic Report published by the Ministry of National Security observed that cybercrime not only threatens to undermine the opportunity of the digital dividends that the country should reap from investment in ICT, but presents a substantial threat to national security with a potential upon further escalation to eventually disrupt national social cohesion to the prejudice of the stability of the country. Mr. Speaker, as noted by Albert Nchibu-Osiakon, Acting Director General of Cybersecurity Authority, the increasing digitalization across governments and in the private sector poses essential risks to the world digital economy. As such, cybersecurity leaders require the right skill sets, tools, and partnership to assess these risks and to build resilient digital economies. Mr. Speaker, and this I wish to state emphatically, I wish to caution the general public that no member of Parliament or Minister of State would demand any money before offering you a job in any of the security sector agencies. As such, the general public must desist from paying or offering to pay monies for employment and any other such opportunities. Mr. Speaker, we must deal with this subject of growing threat of cybercrime and internet fraud as a matter of urgency before a devastating event, such as global economic meltdown or other negative repercussions occur. To reduce the risk of cyber attacks, we must reduce data transfer, regularly install the latest updates on our devices, verify sources and unnecessary downloads, improve passwords by regularly updating and using a string of symbols with no meaning, and establish a formal plan to manage and contain potential damage, among others. Also, as a country, the government can adopt the following approaches to preventing cybercrime, as suggested by Procedural, the manager for Cybersecurity Program, Organization of American States, and the co-chair of the Global Future Council on Cybersecurity World Economic Forum. These approaches can be done as follows. Countries must become more responsible in adopting national cyber security strategies, as well as legal and regulatory framework regarding cybersecurity. Also, there should be an increase in international cooperation. Thus, the need to increase trust at all levels between countries and industries. There should also be the need to unify awareness campaigns, thus increasing awareness of cybersecurity at all ages and levels, regardless of industry. Again, according to the Global Cybersecurity Outlook 2022, published by the World Economic Forum, prioritizing cybersecurity in business decision, gaining leadership support for cybersecurity, and recruiting and retaining cybersecurity talent are the most visible gaps that ought to be bridged. Mr. Speaker, the time to act is now. I thank you for the opportunity.
I'll take one statement here, too, then we take the contribution one, then we move. So I have, let me, is Chairman here? Some of the statement has been with me for quite some time, so. Oh, Chairman is.
I'm here, but sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe I take mine tomorrow. That'll be fine.
Come again?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then let me come to. Oh, they are there. The one, this one also has a statement with me. Okay. Let me come to Sylvester is not here. But I was saying for you, the statement is thesis too much. Benja Not has also gotten up. I don't have. Yeah. Anyway, let me take one comment. Yes, Honorable Alembele.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to contribute to this very important statement made by Honorable Elizabeth Ofosu-Ajare, the MP for Techima North, on the growing cyber-related crimes and internet fraud in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, I'll be very brief. What was so striking about the statement was the third paragraph, where he said that despite the passage of the Landmark Cybersecurity Act by this August House and the creation of the Cybersecurity Authority, little has been done to check identity theft, internet and credit card fraud, business scams, lottery scams, and so many others. Mr. Speaker, this issue is a very serious one. Mr. Speaker, as I speak, I can point to a lot of ministers, current and past ministers, that were struggling with all sorts of accounts, including Facebook accounts. MPs. Mr. Speaker, the stories, I had somebody who called me saying that I've given him a contract. Mr. Speaker, can you imagine I'm in opposition? I've given him a contract in GMPC, and that he paid the registration fee of 1,000 Ghana. But now they say the contract is ready. He's supposed to pay 5,000. Now he got the chance to ask me, to thank me and ask me whether the 5,000 is there. I said, but who told you that an opposition MP gives contracts? Mr. Speaker, the scams goes on, and it's even getting worse. And as has been pointed out, the period of COVID has even exacerbated the problem. We need to address this problem. It's a real national security issue that goes to everything we do as a country, especially in our financial sector, in our banking sector. Reference has been made to the current registration of Ghana card and how innocent Ghanaians in the thousands are being scammed because the banks are calling them to make sure they give them their Ghana card. And so if anybody calls and says, I'm from Car Bank, you need to basically enter your bank information, they do that. Mr. Speaker, and at the end, they go and withdraw their money. I have stories. Just 2 weeks ago, a guy using a Facebook account was able to lure a young girl from Bonga Hafu to Elembele. Mr. Speaker, luckily, this young man has been arrested. When they captured him, the gadgets in his room, he alone had almost 14 phones with all sorts of laptops and computers, with all sorts of IDs. Well, the real one. With all sorts of IDs. And he had basically scammed so many people. And so, Mr. Speaker, this is an issue that must be addressed, and the issue of also punishment must be serious. We must do something about it. And I want to thank the maker of the statement for bringing this very important issue to the attention of this very important House. I call on government to take steps to invest in making the sophistication of how we can really grab bad guys in doing this very seriously. The data around the world is that it is the cost to the economy around this globe is going to be in the trillions, and in Ghana it's going to also get worse. And so we must act, and we must act now. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, we bring statement time to a close. Honourable Kofi, thank you. Honourable Echampo, thank you. Echampo, you just came in. I've sat here for more than 5 hours. I haven't gotten up. I'm tired. Honourable members, on that note, we bring today's proceedings to a close. We are coming back tomorrow at 10 o'clock to continue the parliamentary work that has been trusted to us. So, honourable members, once again, I thank you very much, and the House stands adjourned.